Good sticks, everyone. Welcome to the Captain Avalanche Fancast, your unofficial source for all things Colorado Avalanche hockey and more from a fan perspective. Hosted by me, Captain Avalanche Corey, and the Sharks are still in the NHL, Dom. Now, we're no insiders. We're not inside the locker room face-to-face with our favorite players, but we hope to create a relatable and welcoming environment because we're just like all of you listening. Fans with a deep passion for the game of hockey and, in this case, the Colorado Avalanche. We're closing in on it, Dom. The end of the regular season. In fact, the Avalanche's regular season ends in just 3 games. That's right. There are only 3 left on the schedule. It ends this upcoming Sunday. Although, interestingly enough, a few teams go through all the way to the 17th, but for some reason, the Avalanche end on April 13th. But I don't think I'm complaining too much with a couple injuries on the tail end of the season here.
Yeah, I mean, the extra time to rest, we talked about having a full week off from the end of your last regular season game is a huge plus for the Avs. I know you were lamenting some of the scheduling earlier on in the season with a lot of back-to-back games at inconvenient times, but hopefully now that rest can make up for it and those injuries can resolve themselves so everyone can be healthy enough to play, because let's be real, is anyone ever 100% healthy in the playoffs?
No, never. And that's just a fact of life. I mean, it's always funny when the losing team of the final will come out and say, oh, well, we had this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, but the winning team has equally as much wrong with them at the same time. So really, there are no winners in injury in that regard.
I mean, one could argue there can be losers. Certainly, we could point to the Wild right now, as we did in previous episodes, and say the number of losses when we talk about the Devils, the sheer importance and significance, not magnificence. I guess magnificence.
Magnitude. You could say, I think you're going for magnitude and significance and made magnificence.
New word, everyone. Magnificence.
Magnificence.
Anyway, yeah. Point being that there are certain injuries that can make a huge impact, and you could point to as saying for a reason why those teams might not be competitive in a playoffs, but overall, when it comes to the end of the final round, everybody's got an injury. The number of injuries really isn't a stat that gives any one team an advantage. And even as you said, the other team, the winning team, has just as many injuries, sometimes even more. So, it's something that'll always get said, and everyone will also always know that the truth is everyone's playing injured.
Exactly. Well, speaking of injuries, we're going to start this episode with this right away. If you're following the Avalanche in any capacity, this news is not at all new to you, but I would be remiss if Dom and I didn't discuss it in some form or another, because I stated that I wouldn't speak on Gabriel Landeskog again until major news came out, and well, this is about as major as it gets. First and foremost, it's happening. For real. Gabe Landeskog as of this morning, has been put on a loan to the Colorado Eagles. Now, what does that mean exactly for all those wondering? Well, he is on a conditioning assignment, which means that without coming off of long-term injured reserve, he is allowed under the NHLPA, NHL Players Association's collective bargaining agreement with the NHL. He is allowed to, in order to recover and get up to game speed, play 3 games with the Colorado Avalanche's AHL affiliate, Colorado Eagles. He is up in Loveland. He practiced with them today. It is likely that he will play what they're thinking both Friday and Saturday against the Silver Knights, which is the Vegas Golden Knights' AHL affiliate. So he pretty much, if you needed concrete confirmation that Gabriel Landeskog is going to play for the Colorado Avalanche in the playoffs, this is about as real as it gets.
Oh, absolutely. This is him warming up and making sure that he doesn't technically come off of LTIR during the regular season, so the Avs don't have to worry about his cap hit, at least for this year, with all the guys on their roster for the playoffs. So this is some great gamesmanship by the Avs to make sure that they can get him up to speed without that added cost on their books for the year. And it is you predicted it, man. You said this before anyone else did, talking about with the episodes of that Gabriel Landeskog show and everything. Like, you predicted it, man. So everybody, let's give Corey his flowers for seeing this one coming. I know he just doesn't believe it, but he had the bold prediction. He said it. Whether or not he believes it, he said it. So, man,
Oh, I
you
absolutely
got
believe
that
it.
one right.
I never stop believing it. And before I move any further with some of these kind of open-ended questions, open-ended points, if this is a dream, I need you, Dom, to like pinch me, full on punch me in the fucking face, wake me up, because if this is a dream, I can't. I need this to be real, and it's genuinely borderline unbelievable, especially if you've been watching the episodes of that documentary. What Gabe Landeskog is doing right now is frankly unbelievable. And I mean, everybody was always saying, well, you know, I'll believe that he's really ready to come back once he starts hitting practice consistently, or once he starts doing this, once he starts doing that. Well, he's doing this and that. All those things that are that, he is that. He's doing that.
He is doing all of that. And I mean, we say enough. The captain is back.
And I know I don't sound as energetic as some of you might expect, and it's genuinely just because it's really emotional, and I cannot even express. I'm hoping I'm going to try and get tickets for game 3, because my prediction truly is that he probably won't play the first 2 games in Dallas. I'm sure just for the sake of the story, they will save him for the first home game back here, just so everybody can really all experience it together as fans. And they may not do that. Jared Bednar might say, fuck all that noise, he needs to play right now. And that may be the case, but it doesn't feel real when you see your favorite player after 3 years actually manage to overcome this insane adversity that no one ever thought he would ever come back from. I did, obviously, and some other people did, but we'll get to that point in a second.
None of the
here.
neutrals and the experts and all the hockey, all the people who tell you all the bad news, none of them believed. And you believe, like you said, Corey, and he is back. But I think something to consider here, not just the storyline of having him play in a home game for the first time when he's back. I think the storyline is also, or not, maybe not the storyline, but think about this. The Avalanche, since the trade deadline, have been really, really good. They
Yes.
have these great line combinations. So if you're assuming Marty Necas is back, and you have players, if Jonathan Drouin is back, right, and playing healthy, I mean, even if they're 80% health and ready to go for game 1.
You're skipping ahead.
I mean,
hold on, that's the next question. You're skipping ahead. Pause.
Okay, so I don't want to skip ahead. So my point is, if there is chemistry, you want to
Yes.
figure out where Landy needs to fit rather than just throwing him in there game 1 cold without any time to practice. Even if they wait a couple of games, the practices before then, he can start to cycle in there and figure out maybe where he will end up on the line. That's what I'm trying to say without getting ahead to what you already have planned.
We'll get to that question here in like 2 seconds. The other thing I wanted to say is that Gabriel Landeskog has been nominated for the Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy. For those who don't know, every single team nominates a player for the Bill Masterton Trophy. All 32 teams have a nominee. And to define it for you, I have the definition pulled up right here. It is awarded to the player who best exemplifies the qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to ice hockey. I really, no matter who the other candidates are, I don't think you can pick anybody else if Gabe Landeskog successfully makes this comeback. Like, who else wins this trophy?
When is the voting finalized?
This one, I think, actually is one of the few that goes into like the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. Although I'm just speculating on that. I'm just speculating on that fact.
Because, I mean, who did the Oilers nominate?
I have no idea.
Because if they nominate McDavid because he missed games, or Draisaitl because they missed games, and we all know how the league loves to glaze them, that would be my only concern, and it would be absolutely unjust. Like you're saying, that's just why I'm asking, because I think Landeskog, if he has a couple of weeks in the playoffs, or if multiple rounds, that I think only plays to his benefit, especially if he has success on the ice. So
Edmonton nominated Calvin Pickard, by the way.
Oh, well, never mind. Scratch everything I just said. No compelling story there.
But I'm genuinely, and I mean, not that other folks aren't deserving. I mean, everybody who is named to this award is absolutely, obviously deserving of it for one reason or another. But to overcome the amount of adversity that Gabriel Landeskog has overcome after 3 years when no one ever thought he was going to play hockey again. Even he himself, who said he might not be sure he's ever going to play hockey again. I don't think anybody else is, frankly, as deserving of the award. So that's my thoughts on the matter. And I mean, of course, Washington nominated Alex Ovechkin, who I would say could be a close second there with everything he's accomplished this year. But I think with what the definition of the trophy is, I think Gabriel Landeskog more than deserves that recognition, and I would expect him to win it. So the Avs certainly may be coming home with a lot of individual hardware this year, and hopefully one big piece of team hardware. Well, all right, Dom. So you made a great point. So let's dive into it a little bit more deeply. When Landeskog does come back, which feels like all but a certainty at this point, where will he play and who will he replace? I think is the big question.
Well, let me pull up your depth chart really quick so I can actually have an honest answer to this question and not just be giving my best guess, if you will.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of start off the thought train here, it's hard. But I mean, ultimately, if you ask me, would I rather have any player on the Avalanche besides like maybe Nathan McKinnon or Cale Makar or the captain? I'm gonna pick the captain every time, but it's a hard choice because fully healthy, even without Landeskog, I really like this roster, and it's hard for me to pick certain guys to say, "Ooh, yeah, sorry, buddy, you got to sit this one out because Gabe Landeskog is back." It's genuinely hard for me to say because some lines have absolutely stellar chemistry right now. I kind of have a thought on where I would probably put him in. But if you need me to go ahead and share that right now, Dom, I'm more than happy to.
I have it pulled up. So I guess it obviously, I hinted at it, but it does depend a bit on what ends up happening with Necas and Drouin, because Kiwi Ranta is playing up on the second line right now. O'Connor's playing up on the second line right now. I could see Landy demoting either one of those guys to end up being put in on the second line.
Just to let you know before you continue, they do expect both Necas and Drouin to be healthy for the playoffs. In fact, they might even, their day-to-day, they'll probably play sometime in the last 3 games. That is what Jared Bednar expects. Although this entire season, we've had injury expectations, and they've gone ass backwards pretty much every time. Oh, yeah, this player's only going to be out for a week. 7 weeks later. So you never really know. I'm fairly confident that there isn't a lot of severity with their injuries, but for now, we'll operate under what they have told us. So the expectation is that both Necas and Drouin will be ready for round 1 game.
Okay, so with that in mind, I don't think you mess with your top 6 right now. I really
think so either.
You do. I think your top 6 is pretty hammered out, and I mean, if we need to repeat them for the audience, we can. But McKinnon, Lehkonen, Chu, Nelson, Necas, and Drouin, whatever combination of those you have.
That is one of the that is just one of the most disgusting top 6s I have ever heard.
Absolutely is.
Gross, dude. That is gross.
With everything in mind there, it is insanely gross when everyone, I mean, I've said it myself too about Dallas being like an all-star team. That is an all-star team right there. So you know what? Absolutely, Dallas can suck it, and they will in the first round. But I think, do you put a guy like Landy coming off of an injury, who is your captain, all the way down on the 4th line where he could be prone to some hard minutes and some injury, where he's a little not exposed, if you will, but vulnerable in a sense? It's more physical out on those lines. I think, I mean, it's going to be physical on the 3rd line too, no matter what, but I think you see a guy like Ross Colton or Jimmy Vesey getting pushed down to the 4th line and into that rotation for who's playing on the 4th line and who is the healthy scratch type of thing, into that conversation with Kelly. And I mean, ultimately, I think Miles Wood's the one who ends up getting scratched.
Yeah.
And one of your 3rd line guys in Vesey or Colton gets pushed down. Honestly, maybe it's Colton to play on that right wing, and then you can put Landy on the right wing, since Vesey is a natural left winger. So, and you also have Kelly, who's more of a left winger, although I guess he's a center, so he he also plays center, so he can play either
He's been
side?
playing wing.
Okay, so with just saying, since he has the ability to play center, maybe he has an easier time on the right wing. I don't think. Here's what I don't think. I don't think you like the only other guy who has some experience at right wing is Charlie Coyle. And I don't think you put Coyle on the fourth line
No.
just so you have a right winger at the right wing and then put Drury at center on the third. And that way you can keep your left wingers where they are. So I do think it's either Colton or VC shifting down to the fourth line, Wood, who becomes a healthy scratch, and Landeskog slots in there. Really, I don't think the side matters. He's a natural winger. He can play either side.
Here is how I view it, right? I don't. So, first of all, I think that the fourth line that I think we're going to operate here is Drury, Kelly, O'Connor. And I think everybody recognizes that that line has had absolutely monster chemistry. I would also like to share that Logan O'Connor has been voted the 4th best defensive forward in the league, everyone. So, round of applause to LOC. There's ever anybody out there questioning, why did we sign him for 6 more years? He never does anything. He's the guy that we talk about constantly who does all the right shit away from the puck. Logan O'Connor doesn't always end up on the score sheet, but man, does he have an endless impact on the ice. But Blaze Fest aside.
I just realized I did the math wrong from not shifting Kiviranta and O'Connor down. So that means I think Kelly and Wood actually would both be scratches, and then you're choosing between Ross Colton and Jimmy VC to be your last man on the fourth line. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So the way I look at it actually is VC, Wood, and Kiviranta will probably be your scratches, which is tough for me because I like Yoel and I think he's actually primed to have a really good playoff run. But I feel like Landeskog fits in really well with both Coyle and Colton. I think they play a very similar style of game. Obviously, Landeskog can produce a little bit more than both of those guys, but Landeskog has always played that grinder, that skilled grinder style of hockey because he can score, but he'll also beat the fuck out of you if you hurt one of his teammates. I mean, that's just the sign of a good captain. But I mean, I think if you look at how Coyle plays, Landeskog plays very similarly, just with a bit higher of a skill ceiling. So I just think that a line centered by Coyle with Colton and Landeskog on the wings, just going into it makes the most sense because you can shelter his minutes a little bit. He gets to play with guys who are similar in play style, but you also get to keep together that fourth line that I think has really good chemistry right now. Otherwise, yes, I agree. If you don't put him on the third, I think Kelly is probably your scratch on the fourth line just because Drury has absolutely insane face-off numbers. I think last I checked, it was around 55%. Man's is insane. So that's where I see him right now. Obviously, it all depends on if injuries happen or not. And I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll end up being so damn good because he is. That they'll shift him up to the second line. And if push comes to shove, he's definitely somebody you can also play with McKinnon. I mean, you can realistically see him being anywhere, really. And it's just about who's the scratch. And unfortunately, I think it comes down to probably Wood, Kiviranta, and VC. It's those three mainly. And I mean, it's nice to have a depth problem like this, where you have too many players who can do well because even with Natchez and Druin being injured, those guys have come in and frankly played really well. So it's hard to say like, oh, I'm sorry, you have to sit this out because they have done well for the team, but you have to have Gabriel Landeskog on the roster. You have to have him there.
Oh yeah. And the thing is with the playoffs, with injuries, with some guys needing rest, those guys are going to play at some point.
Yeah.
It is not like they're going to be scratched for the whole playoffs. So they're not out of it entirely. I would agree. In my brain, Miles Wood is the first scratch. And if we had to count 1, 2, 3, what order are they getting scratched? I think Miles Wood's the first one off the board. I would agree with you based on everything. I know he has had some big moments here recently and has stepped up in his role on the third line. But I do agree. I see VC as the second one. It's that Kelly Kiviranta decision where maybe I just haven't seen enough of Parker Kelly. But how much in the way you've talked about Kiviranta, I see him as having more upside. So are you saying the Kelly, Drury, O'Connor, that line combination, that chemistry is just that good
Yes.
that you would take that chemistry over the upside?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Because
then
I
that
think
makes
they
sense.
produce a lot of upside. I mean, they are shut down dudes. You can put them against the other team's best players and they'll get it done.
Gotcha. Well, then, I can't disagree with you then, and I do think it's also something with Landeskog where let's say he plays and he doesn't play until game 3, right? In this hypothetical,
Right.
he might not play every single game either. It
No.
might be a process
No.
of bringing him back where if he plays game 3, maybe he plays game 4, but then
Yeah.
doesn't play game 5 and he's
Yeah.
playing home games only,
Exactly.
which then it pull Landy out, then you plug Kiviranta right
Exactly.
there into the
Exactly.
middle 6, and that makes sense. So I think you've convinced me to come across on your point. I think when we talked about those underdog players who could show up like an episode or two ago, though, the Avalanche do need to find a way to have Kiviranta on the ice at some point in this playoffs in moments that matter, because I think he has the potential to really step up in those big moments. Even if he doesn't have
Yes.
a ton of minutes on the ice, he typically has been making the most of his minutes from what Avalanche stuff I have gone through and seen, that he seems to be an energy bug, an energizer bunny who can go get you a goal when you need one.
I'll tell you what, man. It's the Finns. You must fear the Finns. The Finnish players on the Avalanche are they're just really good. And they always have been. For some reason, if you are a Finnish player and you come and play for the Avalanche, you just immediately get better. And you're just a clutch motherfucker. I mean, Arturi Lehkonen is the most clutch player on the Colorado Avalanche. He's a little snake bit right now, but you don't really worry about it because he's just awesome. And Kiviranta, whenever he scores, it is never a dull moment. He's always scoring in those big games. But needless to say, I do not envy the decision that Jared Bednar has, but I'm sure he's honestly happy about it. He's like, great, I love having this problem where I have so many great players who deserve to play and who can have an impact for this team. I have to make these hard decisions. So don't envy him. My God, Stan and Josh, don't ever fire him. I will find you. Don't pull a Coach Malone. It's crazy. I was listening to the news, which I don't normally do, but I just happened to catch it. The Kroenke family has a notorious history of firing coaches post championships. It's insane. Like, coaches will win championships for various Colorado sports franchises that they own, and then suddenly, like a year later, that coach has been fired, and it's just wild to me. So thank God, because the Nuggets had a very similar record to the Avalanche, and I was like, don't fire Jared Bednar, please. So I think he's safe for now, though.
I would say so as well. I don't see how he's not safe, honestly.
Yeah, me too, but who knows? But a note to all the naysayers, as we've already mentioned to a certain extent, but in the most polite way I can say this, I told you so. My God, I told you so. To everybody who, posted comments, time to retire, Landy. He just needs to be done. He just needs to do this. He just needs to do that. Like I said, how fucking dare you say anything before the man himself out loud said if he's done or not? You don't know. And you never did know. Because now, here we are on the cusp of Gabriel Landeskog about to step out on professional ice again to play hockey. Will he be the same player? I don't know. But do you know what he is? Gabriel fucking Landeskog. And the endless impact he has for this team is incalculable. It is indescribable, which leads me into my final point here. What kind of impact does this truly have for the Colorado Avalanche, Dom?
Well, when you talk about depth, and let's focus on that. You from having before the trade deadline not enough depth and complaining about depth for not even weeks but months, and now you have too much of it. What does that do for the Colorado Avalanche? It makes them incredibly dangerous going into this playoff series with Dallas, I don't think they care about the home ice advantage at this point. I think it's out of reach. So they're just focused on getting there with the least amount of injuries possible and making sure that the Blues don't fuck something up for them. So I think they'll be fine and
They
can kind
can't.
of coast into the
Blues
playoffs.
can no longer mathematically catch the Avalanche. We're good.
Well, there you go. There you go. So the Avalanche are right now going to coast into the playoffs without any injury. Yes, they can still go win games and do great things, but I think they are a deep team. And now, if anything, practice is going to matter a ton. Earn your spot. Be playing your best, showing up your best, working hard in practice to show Bednar who to start, and that's going to raise the whole level of the team. And I think that might catch Dallas off guard. I really do. And there'll be a whole week to practice, to prepare. And I mean, this might sound crazy, Corey, but if you offer me Blackwood versus Ottinger, pick one goalie and you can only have one, I'll take Blackwood. I really will. I genuinely think he is better, not only this year, but overall, and more consistent. And you know what? If Blackwood needs a night of rest here and there and plays 2 games, rests one, which I'm not saying they necessarily will, Wedgwood can win playoff
Yes,
games. The
he
way he has been
fucking
playing this
can.
year, the way the team's playing in front of him this year, like I I just see advantage abs everywhere you look. So I mean, and I'm not saying just against the Stars here. This is me saying overall. I do think the Avs have a dangerous roster built for the playoffs, and we know like Winnipeg, for example, big in the regular season and typically chokes in the playoffs. And whether or not they have the experience, the success, the Avalanche do. And now that they have a storyline bolstering them, the morale of having their captain back to play for, play with, and how that is going to impact the fans, the volume in that building in Denver. Oh my God, Ball Arena is going to cause an earthquake in Denver when Landeskog steps on the ice.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, for me, it's all about the intangibles. And people like to use this example a lot, and I think it's an appropriate one just because of how recent it is. But you look at when Steven Stamkos came back in the bubble, and I think he played 5 minutes, maybe less, just like a shift for the Lightning in that series. And just that alone gave them enough emotional push to go on and win a Stanley Cup. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of other factors that contribute to a team winning, but hockey really is a game driven by emotion. And that's why when you get like angry Nathan McKinnon, you see this guy who is already the best player in the world somehow morph into somebody even better. That's why he can go coast to coast, skate around all 5 Blues skaters, and then absolutely roof it behind Ville Husso to blow the roof off of Ball Arena. There are just certain things that cannot be described through stats and analytics and numbers on the ice. And that's what Gabriel Landeskog brings. And I mean, he said it himself that there's only so much he can do sitting in a suit in the locker room. He wants to be out there going to war with the guys. And after everything he's been through, if he can do all this, then winning a Stanley Cup looks easy by comparison. So I can only imagine, especially with all the guys who know him and who have played and who have gone to war with him already, what kind of energy that spurs them on. So I'm so excited beyond what
Well,
I can even describe.
and you should be. And when you talk about emotions and how deep they run in hockey, that is very true. But if we're trying to parse two really good teams, two of, if not the two best teams coming into these playoffs right now, I mean, honestly, if I had to create a power rankings today, and it has nothing to do about record, but ranking what we expect to be the playoff teams 1 through 16, I'm pretty sure the Avalanche and the Stars would be back to back and would be in my top most dangerous teams, most likely to win the cup this year. So when you're talking about these two heavyweights going at it, both with stacked rosters and plenty of depth that makes anyone else in the playoffs envious, right? Or it should. That emotion, it might not seem like a lot, but that makes a difference. That can be the little extra push. that I mean, and I agree. I'm saying that I think the Avalanche are the better team. But if we are going to take an approach from as a neutral, as a third party, saying I have no stake in either team, if I turn off the fact that this is an Avalanche podcast, we rank them as basically equal, then I would still say that is going to be a huge tiebreaker, a huge bump to the Avs, and gives them a mathematical. I mean, it's not. I don't. It's not a mathematical advantage, but it feels
I know what
like
you
it.
mean. I know what you
It's
mean.
not a statistic advantage like you said. Excuse me, like you said, but it is. It gives them an intangible advantage, and there's no good way to quantify it, but you know it's there. It's not
Yeah.
something that's hypothetical or theoretical. It is very real.
Yep. Just like death from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. If you haven't seen that movie, you should. But pretty much the exact same concept. It's not fictitious. It's real. But yeah. And I mean, without diving into comparing the two teams, because we will save that for next week as we gear up for the playoffs. Because next week, everybody, we will be doing, at least I think it'll be open by then. I would hope that it is. We'll be doing our brackets, because everything should be set in stone at that point. So we will doing our playoff preview next week. I am very much looking forward to it, and I am not envious. Again, I'm a homer, but just to finish this off, I am not envious of any team that has to play the Colorado Avalanche. I don't care who they ended up facing in the first round. I'd be like, fuck. Because you know what's going on. Everybody sees it. Everybody knows that Gabriel Landeskog is about to come back. And I mean, he's a hard guy not to root for, or he's hard not to root for, just with the story and just the person that he is. So, everybody.
Well, and the last time the Avalanche were built with a team like this, what happened? They should be scared.
What did I say? I probably said this first episode, and I know I've said it recently too, but I said that in order to win another Stanley Cup, the Avalanche needed Gabriel Landeskog and Valeri Nichushkin. Motherfucker, they got both. So, everybody, the captain's coming back.
Yeah, and they just need Chu to stay healthy. That's, they
healthy.
Have him.
Quote unquote
they have
healthy.
him now, but in the last couple of years, when he has gotten injured in the playoffs, him or Lecky his time in the playoffs, that has been kryptonite, where the Avs come in strong and then have flamed out.
He's never. It's not injury. It's other problems that
sure, fair enough. But
had.
I would say even this year, if you do have him missing games, I think the Avalanche will be okay with Landeskog being able to potentially slot into a top 6 role. With Kiviranta, with the upside we talked about, I do think the Avalanche are more set up to survive the loss of a top player than they have been in the last few years. And we don't want that to happen, obviously, but when you don't know what could happen in the playoffs, that is an advantage that's worth having and noting as well.
It's about context, right? Because the Avs, when they lost Nichushkin the last 2 years, especially last year, because they lost him in a very similar way than they did the first time, I think, like I said, emotionally and mentally, that fucked up the team. And I'm convinced that they probably could have beaten Dallas, or at least taken it to 7 games, had they had Valeri Nichushkin, who was leading the playoffs in scoring, might I remind you. He had more goals than he did games played.
Which is insane. That is an insane statement to be able to make.
Yeah. And it took, I think, 2 rounds until somebody finally passed him in the number of goals that he was scoring. Valeri Nichushkin is a playoff demon. So that's why I keep saying he is one of the keys to the Avalanche's success here. If he gets injured, that's a different story. Completely different than if he gets in trouble with the league again. And I know that Val Nichushkin is smart enough to recognize that this is his last chance. If he fucks this, he is off the team, likely out of the NHL. No one's going to want him ever again. Well, maybe Edmonton will, but otherwise, no one's going to want him ever again. So I think he is smart enough, please Lord, to stay clean. But the Avalanche also have some more intangibles that they didn't have before. They have both Eric Johnson and Gabriel Landeskog back, that leadership in the locker room. Nate's in his prime, Kale's in his prime. There is no time like right now, but I am ready to keep kicking it into next gear here, Dom, because you have a lot of fun stuff today. So I want to make sure we can get to all of that. So thank you for your contributions on our build up to the return of the captain.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm excited. I am excited to see this Avalanche team in the playoffs. I'm excited to see the captain back. What I'm not excited about, and I'll talk about it when we get here in the tank, but Eriksson Ek just scored his third of the night for a hat trick, and the Wild now lead the Sharks. Yeah, the Wild now lead the Sharks 6-4 early in the third period. They are 3 of 4 on the power play tonight. So, yikes!
Goodness indeed. Well, Dom, your team has got their asses kicked again, and Macklin Celebrini got sent to the Shadow Realm in the game against the Kings. But you do have more other exciting topics to discuss this week, like history being made before our eyes, although we're not saving that one. There is history being made before our eyes in more than one way. So, because I need a few moments of grace to finish some notes on my own, it's time for In the Tank with Dom.
Well, thanks, Corey. And for everyone, I'm just going to say it now. Yes, there was history this week. If you don't know what the history is I'm talking about, please get out from the rock you're living under. But we're going to save that for a little bit later here in the episode to get to talk about and truly appreciate for Corey and I to talk about together. While I'm in the tank, I am going to focus on some Sharks things at first right now, and we will get to the Great Eight eventually. Quick update here. Let's talk players and injuries. MacLeod, I mentioned last week, was injured, and he is going to be out for the remainder of the season from that shoulder injury he sustained at the hands of Frank Vatrano. Yes, Corey, I'm going to call him Ratrano. Fuck Frank Vatrano. That was a dirty play that ended up shoving MacLeod's shoulder into the boards. It's not clear yet if he is going to need surgery, but he is expected to make a full recovery and be ready for next season. But he is done for the year. And that's a huge loss, not only to the Sharks here in his time. He's been really, really great playing as a restricted free agent, and I do expect the Sharks to re-sign him without a problem. But he was going to be sent back to the AHL to help with the Cuda Calder Cup chase. So that's a loss not only for the Sharks, but for the Barracuda. So huge one. And like I said, fuck Vatrano. In positive news, though, related to the AHL.
And fuck you, Rico! All right, I just had to sneak that one in there.
Oh, yeah, you got to get that in there. But in positive AHL news, and I do mean AHL news, Igor Chernyshov, the 33rd overall pick, the first pick of the second round just this last year by the San Jose Sharks, he will be joining the Barracuda in the not-too-distant future and will be eligible to play the 5 remaining games of the season as well as the playoffs if the Sharks elect to do so. So this is great to see him making that next step up to the AHL, and we'll have the opportunity to play straight into playoff time and see what the kid's got. He was drafted 33rd overall. He's got it's almost a first round pick. So there's a lot of potential there. Russian player, a lot of talent. So we'll see if he actually plays, but I'm excited that potential to bolster up the CUDA. They clearly are bolstering and trying to gear up for their playoffs because prospect Quentin Musty, the 26th overall pick in the 2023 draft, was also temporarily been called in and joined the Barracuda from the OHL. And Colin Graff, Jimmy Schultz, and Gabriel Carrier, who have all spent time with the Sharks recently or as recent as the last game, they have all been reassigned back to the Barracuda in this past week. So really, the CUDA are gearing up, getting all their players back, ready to go. I wouldn't be surprised if Askarov is potentially starting and being backed up by Carrier. The Sharks might not be good, but the CUDA are, and they are in this playoff hunt. And the San Jose wants to win something, so it doesn't surprise me. I know you're still writing things, Corey, but does it surprise you? Do you think going for a Calder Cup matters?
Yeah, of course it does. It's still first of all, some of these guys don't necessarily play NHL hockey. They just don't quite have the skill ceiling for it. But they do still play professional hockey in the AHL. They make their living there. And it's I think just as impactful for those guys to go on those playoff chases. But then if you look at the aspect for the younger players who maybe are awaiting their turn to, develop and then eventually make an NHL roster, they don't get the chance yet to compete for a Stanley Cup. So this is a pretty close second for them to still kind of get that same rush and feeling of playing in playoff games, at least at the AHL level. So I think it's still very important for confidence, for development, just for a lot of various reasons, especially, like I said, for these younger kids who are maybe waiting their turn. I think everybody deserves a chance to play at the highest level for your respective league. So I think it absolutely still matters.
Well, I think I agree with that as well, and I'm happy to see them get this chance. I think it's also good for guys like Colin Graff, who he will be playing with the NHL roster next year. I might be on the top six, at least the third line. I mean, he's played with Celebrini at times, and he's been a surprise in a good way. I think he's played 33 games with the Sharks this year, if you can believe that. So being called up, he's really earned his spot or made a name for himself with the Sharks. So getting some playoff experience in any form, I think, is a significant positive. Jimmy Schultz is someone who was called up just to help fill in for some of the defensive injuries. I don't expect him to, honestly. He's 29. I don't know if he'll still be with the Sharks next year. He's left-handed, so when we think of defensemen, I don't know if that's something we, if we're going to be trying to retain when I'm hoping Greer goes out there and buys more players. But, let's see if he can get up to and give us a reason to re-sign him. And then Carrier, of course, should be, if Askarov is healthy, which I think they've been trying to hold him out and make sure he is, it'll be good experience for Askarov, and Carrier can be that backup goaltender, so not expected to start. He was called up to be the backup for Romanov while Georgiev was out for some day-to-day injury. So he was always going to end up back in the AHL. I don't know if that's necessarily a huge playmaker move by the Sharks, but it's always good to have him get experience if he does see any time in the playoffs. Going into some games, and I'm going to go through the first one quickly because picture this, it is Saturday, April 5th, and the Sharks are hosting the Seattle Kraken. So a battle of eliminated teams. And so you'd think, hey, maybe this is a one the Sharks could win or maybe be a little competitive. No, it was not at all. The Seattle Kraken had their way with the Sharks. As one might expect, the massive sea monster was able to gobble up the Sharks. And that is, yes, obviously a metaphor, Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever you want to picture in your brain, release the Kraken, whatever it may be. They dominated this game, much to my chagrin, and it was just bad from the start. Georgiev allowed 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. The sleepover line was the only line to get on the board, and they scored a goal in the first period from Will Smith, assisted by both Toffoli and Celebrini. But the Sharks did not score again in the game. And Georgiev would not be denied, as he allowed another 2 goals in the first half of the second period to bring his goals allowed total to 4 goals allowed on just 11 shots faced for a .636 save percentage. Retire this man already, for the love of God. Like, it's just so bad.
That is... Oh.
And that's not the first time this season that he has posted that exact stat line, 4 on 11, and been pulled. That is, I'm pretty sure, the third time. Minimum 2 that it's that exact stat line, but I'm pretty sure it is the third time he has gone 4 of 11 exactly. So,
that's not
brutal.
good. That's bad. That's kind of bad.
So yeah, kind of bad is a word for it. Let me see. Sorry, Kovalenko just scored for the Sharks. So Flower has given up 5 goals tonight on something like 25 goals or shots faced.
I don't know if you knew this, and my mom said to send you their condolences, but Eriksson Ek also scored a 4th goal. So,
oh yes, I have it here in the notes when I get to tonight's
return,
game.
Man, he is he is having a time. Who needs Kirill when you have Eriksson Ek?
Well, Kirill the Thrill actually scored a goal as well that I get to tell you about here a little bit later when I get to it. The game score is now 7-5 Minnesota.
Love a good barn burner. Love a good barn burner.
I don't know if the Sharks can actually still play spoiler now, but they're giving it their all with the offense. Back to the shitty game against the Kraken so I can finish this. After Georgiev gave up that fourth one to become his one and true self, Georgiev, whatever, I don't even care at this point. Romanov was brought in immediately and also actually allowed a second period goal. So after 2 periods, the Kraken were up 5-1. Romanov didn't allow anything in the third, so that is how the score finished in the game. The most noteworthy moment from a Sharks perspective was with 35 seconds left in the third period. William Eklund had his first career fight versus Eli Tolvanen. And so this was a Swede versus Finn bout, and the fight seemed to end a little too quickly. Tolvanen ended up with his arm kind of back around the back of Eklund's neck, so not on purpose or anything, no malicious intent. It just provided an opportunity for the refs to get in there. I would have liked to have seen this one go longer because Eklund was truly doing his best to throw him, and he definitely got Tolvanen with at least one. After, though, I think what was really cool to see is the two continued to chat as the referees intervened, and they didn't aggressively pull them apart. And it seemed there were clear signs of respect from Tolvanen, recognizing that this was Eklund's first career fight and respecting him for stepping up. And in that moment, I think he understood what was going on, and based on where the score was in the game's almost over. There was a hit on the play, and Eklund's just sticking up for his guys. So I appreciated that, to see just the respect within the game, even in an angry moment when there's a fight, for him to recognize what the young player was doing. And it's just cool to see because Desharnais was working with Eklund, teaching him how to fight earlier in the season during practice after being acquired. So it was cool to finally see Eklund actually stand toe-to-toe with someone, get that 5-minute major, which I think is something rare to say. You're not often happy to see your guys get a 5-minute major penalty, right, for fighting, but in this case, I enjoyed that highlight. Corey, do you have any thoughts on that, or is this just me being the person who likes fighting in the game of hockey?
I don't think there's anything wrong with liking fighting in the game of hockey, just as long as it's done to the code. But you got to stand up for your guys, and I don't think you're mad about a 5-minute major in the context like you just described. So I'm with you there.
Well, and 3 other players, a step check for the Sharks and 2 for the Kraken, also got misconduct for some pushing and shoving away from the play. So the refs were like, there's 30 seconds left. Y'all are done, and sent all 5 of them to the locker room early for a shower. So, the game was decided at that point, and nothing was going to change that. And apparently, I think the Sharks just gave the Wild another power play, possibly. Maybe they didn't. Maybe the Wild gave the Sharks a power play. I'm not clear on what just happened here, but it doesn't look great. It's going to commercial. Anyway, yeah, so the Kraken game sucked. But, like I said, I like to see the respect to the code for Eklund standing up for his guys. So that was a good thing. Respect to Tolvanen, class act, even if they were fighting each other. I think that's all I have to say on that matter at this point. Moving forward, Monday night against the Calgary Flames at home in San Jose, and the Sharks took it to Calgary in the first period and really forced Dustin Wolf to be every bit as good as the rookie has been all year. He made 17 saves on 18 shots faced, compared to Calgary only having 8 shots on net for the period. With Toffoli out due to injury, it was Will Smith who opened the scoring off assists from Kovalenko and Celebrini, so that's goals in back-to-back games for Will Smith. In the second period, the Sharks were unable to convert on 2 power play opportunities, though, with the Flames making it incredibly difficult to even enter the offensive zone. So if the Flames make it in the playoffs, they have a PK ranked 25. It is not the 25th best PK. It is definitely top 10 right now. They had some struggles earlier in the season, but that unit is legit right now. It was very, very difficult for the Sharks to clear the blue line and get into the zone, let alone get a shot on goal on both of those power plays. It was honestly kind of depressing to watch, and I know that the Sharks are better 5-on-5 than 5-on-4 yet again. But not much to say other than that goal in the first 2 periods, and recognizing Wolf was great. So we have to jump to the third period, and that is when Calgary finally turned on their game to keep their playoff hopes alive, scoring 3 goals in 7 minutes, including a Huberdeau power play goal. Corey, I wonder if we need to start consider referring to Calgary as a third period hockey team. I mean, this is the third time in their last 5 games that they have either taken the lead or forced overtime with goals scored in the third period. And those games were against playoff teams in Vegas and Colorado. So is this just me? Is this a trend, or am I maybe reading into this a little too much with the third period comebacks from Calgary?
I mean, I think obviously right now they're playing for their playoff lives because they're in that mushy middle where if they make it to the playoffs, they make it to the playoffs. They're probably a first round exit, but there's something to be proved there. But if they don't make the playoffs, then you don't get playoff hockey and you get a shitty draft pick. So I think there is probably more incentive for them to try and make the playoffs so they can at least give that to their fans as well as, well, bring in more revenue. But the Calgary Flames are statistically the lowest scoring team in the league, but their defense is great along with Wolf. So they're doing a great job from what I've seen at actually limiting their opponents. So when they do score, they don't need to score too many. I'm wondering if we can see their period by period goals.
Yeah, I don't have that information, but you are right. It seems like the scores in these games, a lot of 3-2, 2-3 style games, whether they win or lose. But, scoring 2-3 goals in the third period is what I'm trying to point out here, where they definitely seem to maybe struggle at the start of a game, be a slow team in the first period and build through the game and be a better team as they get closer to the third. Maybe not as good as Vegas or Colorado in the third period, let's say, overall, but they definitely flash a lot more in the third compared to what one might expect, and definitely compared to earlier in the game for them.
Yeah, I'm trying to maybe... Oh, wait, I can get this. I can answer this question for you. Okay, here we go. So it looks like, based on their period breakdown here, that overall they do, it seems, score more in the third period. So you are correct in that in that assumption here. They are in fact a third period team, but they do have here a negative goal differential. But overall, they have scored 80 goals in the third period as compared to 51 and 63 in the first and second periods. So their first period, in most instances, is their worst, although they do have it broken down by being home or away. But both home and away, their third period is far and away their statistically and goal scoring wise best period.
Oh, well, thank you for confirming that, Corey. Because, yeah, I think that's something that can make a difference in the playoffs if you can keep Flames. Hey, new word, everyone. Flames!
Man, you are just a mess.
Yeah, combining games and Flames there. But if they can keep games close, the Flames could have that extra little push in the third to be able to win games in the playoffs when the margins are smaller. So that's just something, if they sneak in, maybe they don't get swept by a Winnipeg team who struggles with playoff success. So let's see. Oh, by the way, the Sharks just scored, and guess who, Corey? It is MacLeod Celebrini with the hat trick on the night.
That is fantastic news. Calder Breedy is not dead. Oh, but Dom might be. Hello?
Hello? Calder Breedy lives.
There he is.
Calder Breedy lives. I mean, the odds aren't great, but man is still alive. The Sharks are still alive. They're only down 1 goal. The game is 7-6 with 10 minutes remaining. Oh, wow. I've just been taking notes as I've gone with this game on in the background. Eventually, I'll talk about some of recap this Minnesota game quickly before something else happens. So let me get through this Calgary game. Because the Sharks did score a power play goal of their own in the third period with 2 minutes remaining. Will Smith making it a pair of goals on the night off the assist from Tim Liljegren and MacLeod once again. So a lot of points for MacLeod if you count the points tonight. Plus that, I mean, I think it's 6 points in 3 games. So Calder Breedy, like you said, might be alive. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Ultimately, Georgi Romanov was actually having a great night. He was pitching a shutout on over 20 shots after 2 periods of play, but what happens? The Sharks collapse in the third period, and oftentimes it's because of their goaltending. So he ultimately finished with a save percentage, one save below 900. Really, at the end of the day, another Flames rally, another Sharks collapse. Same old story. So with that, Corey, I think I'll just jump into this Wild game and try to recap it as quickly as possible while there's a commercial. Sound good?
No, feel free to go like at a medium pace.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, a lot has happened in this game. I mean, there have been 13 goals already, and there's still like 10 minutes left. So I'll be able to do a bit of a medium pace here. The Sharks actually struck first in the first period, as they tonight they are attempting to play spoiler to a somewhat desperate Minnesota Wild team tonight, who are 2 points behind the Blues, and I think what are they? Are they 2 or 4 points ahead, Corey, of the Flames?
I think they're actually more than that now. Let me verify that for you. As I get my app open, but
So what I see is
here I got it. They are 5 points ahead of the Flames. No, wait, sorry, 6. They are 6 points ahead of the Flames. St. Louis is. Minnesota
Louis is, yeah.
Minnesota is 4 points ahead of the Flames.
So I was going to ask about Minnesota because that's who the Sharks are playing tonight. Minnesota is ahead 4 points. Calgary, considering that Minnesota is playing right now, Calgary is currently playing Anaheim as well. They still have a game in hand. So if Minnesota loses and Calgary wins, they have a game in hand and are only 2 points behind. So this is a big game for Minnesota to be able to get a win at home against this Sharks team, just be able to continue fending off Calgary, who is on a charge. So, the Sharks really are trying to play spoiler, and it was Tyler Toffoli scoring 12 minutes into the game, returning from that one game miss due to injury, off assist from Eklund and Wenberg. The Wild did respond in the first period, though. They actually scored 2 goals on a total of 16 shots on goal in the first period alone. I'll just let you know the current shot count for the Wild is at 40. So a lot of shots in this game. The Sharks have 27 shots on goal. So very offensive game we are witnessing here tonight. So the end of the first period, though, the Wild were up 2-1. However, it was Macklin Celebrini, and this game opened up in the second period. It was 2-1 after one period, and I'm telling you it is 7-6 now. Well, it was because of the middle of the second period that all of this crazy action back and forth has come to be. Because it was Macklin Celebrini. He scored his first of the night to tie it up 7:29 into the second period to be his 22nd goal of the season, assisted by Jack Thompson and Will Smith. However, the Wild responded instantly. They did not like that the Sharks tied it up at home in their building in Tiny Soda. And it was 18 seconds later at 7:47.
That was the dumbest pun I've ever heard, and it took me
You've
like
never
10
heard Tiny
seconds.
Soda?
It took me like 10 seconds to realize what you just did. I don't like that at all.
You've never heard Tiny Soda? That's not even mine.
That's funny because like I'm in the middle of typing this and like thinking about other things, and I somehow just hear Tiny Soda.
Well, you can thank my uncle who's from Minnesota. So that's where I got that one from. Shout out to my Uncle Toby. Love you, Uncle T.
Fuck you, Uncle T.
No, we love Uncle T.
We love Uncle T.
He's both an Avs and a Wild fan. He's not a huge hockey fan, but as long as they aren't playing each other, he will root for whichever one is in the game.
That feels so oxymoronic. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, it happens when you're not an active fan, where it's the root for the home team and root for your hometown team type of thing, because his family out in Minnesota are still big Wild fans, but here in Colorado, he will always root for the Avs. So he's in that no man's land of not being a true fan of either team and just passively rooting for both. But anyway, I love my Uncle T. Great mentor and role model for me, who I look up to very highly. So I will not accept any slander on his name. But back to the game, 7:47. I told you the Wild responded to go back up 3-2. They did not like being tied. It was actually due to a strong forecheck from Eriksson Ek. So we've talked about he has 4 games now on the night. Well, basically, he had a strong forecheck to force Alex Wenberg into a turnover. It caused some chaos with the puck going in front of the Sharks net. And I believe it was Henry Thrun actually making a save. while Georgiev was out of position, but eventually the puck lost in the shuffle in the middle. It was Eriksson Ek who was able to push it between the 5-hole of Georgiev's legs when he went trying to sprawl onto the ground to cover it and just couldn't find it. So just a very hectic series. It's 3-2 Minnesota here at this point. But fast forward, not even a minute later, not even 50 seconds later, but 48 seconds later, I have typed here, what is happening with 3 exclamation points? Because the Sharks responded right back, and this is something the Sharks have struggled with all year, is having the answer when they get a bad beat like that, score a goal, give one back up, make a mistake. They struggle to really get back in it. This is when they start to go on a bad run, and then they end up losing the game by 3. And no, the Sharks came back and answered and responded right away to tie it up at 3-3. It was Cam Lund taking a shot that was not quite secured by Fleury. He had it, but loosely in his pads. And it was really the great follow-up effort by Carl Grundstrom, who was able to take a nice push on Fleury's pads and force the puck free and then poke it home while still getting back-checked and cross-checked. So really great effort play from Carl Grundstrom. He's one of those players who doesn't always play games, is one of those potential scratches with the fourth line, but he's been playing a lot recently. Klim Kostin has actually been scratched 8 of the last 9 games. This is important, and I'm just going to take the side tangent because Klim Kostin is a restricted free agent, as is Grundstrom, I believe. So it's possible both will not be with the Sharks next year, and it might be one or it could be neither, but these minutes and playing well is very significant for each of these guys if they do want to be extended an offer and actually be able to play at the NHL level with the Sharks next season. I really love the effort, strong play. I think Grundstrom has been underrated and does his role very well on the fourth line. He's great. Like we talked about, Corey, with your fourth line about being a shutdown guy, and then he can have these flashes of just effort-based plays on offense. The Sharks need more of. They need that type of thing from their depth. So I really, really love to see that from Carl Grundstrom. And here we are. It's 8:35 into the period, so 11:25 remaining, and we have a little bit of a lull. It starts to slow down a little bit. Everyone's like, all right, that's been 3 goals in like a minute and a half. Let's get our head back on straight. And not even a minute and a half, a minute and 6 seconds, 3 goals between the two teams. Let's settle down here. And so it took a few minutes, but it was actually Macklin Celebrini, his second goal of the night. He scored again to give the Sharks a 4-3 lead with 7:35 left in the period. I have written down here before we started recording, or maybe this was while we had started recording and we were talking a little bit about the Avs. I wrote down, this game is awesome to watch right now and has absolutely opened up, and it has. The second period absolutely opened up this game after it was a little mundane in the first 5 minutes of the period. I think another assist on this one from Will Smith. So all 3 goals that Celebrini has tonight, Will Smith has an assist. So that's pretty cool. The two of them playing on a line together clearly have chemistry. I believe Kovalenko has 2 of those assists tonight as well. And of course, Kovalenko has a goal of his own. So that trio is, I think, past 12 points now for the game. If I'm counting correctly, I'll have to double check the stats here. So it's 4-3 Sharks. Unfortunately, one of the problems that the Sharks have had sometimes, especially when they are playing younger defensemen, and it does seem to be more defensemen, is penalty calls and penalties that are either tripping or high sticking. And ultimately what ended up happening here is there was a roughing assessed to both teams for some contact in front of the net. Grundstrom went to the box for San Jose, which I think is kind of dumb because Matt Boldy ripped off Grundstrom's helmet and started throwing punches with his gloves on. And Grundstrom only did like a face wash in reply. So I think the Sharks should have been on a power play there, but whatever. The problem was when Eklund ended up, and this time it wasn't a defenseman, but Eklund ended up tripping a Wild player 20 seconds into this 4-on-4. So the Wild were able to play 4-on-3 and have 90 seconds of power play with a lot of open ice. And this is when they were able to tie the game at 4 goals apiece with 3 minutes left in the second period. Interesting sequence, right? That opened up all that space on the ice with the weird penalties. The tripping calls, sometimes you hate when it happens. Sometimes it's like if you're an offensive guy, you can step on the stick and guarantee the call, even if the if the defenseman in Eklund's stick wasn't moving, it's just on the ice, and that's why they tell players, don't put your stick on the ice if you don't have the puck or getting past it or blocking a passing lane, you know? You gotta pick up your stick, and so that's a little 101 thing that I think Eklund, being a young player, made the mistake there, although I don't always love how easy it is to get that tripping call. But this is when, Corey, you would ask if Kirill the Thrill had scored yet. This is when he scored his goal tonight with a great shot from a sharp angle. Georgiev, it was top shelf. I don't know if he didn't see it. I think he should have been able to see it, but I guess he just wasn't able to cover that top 10% of the net. So really recognizing the talent there of Kirill Kaprizov to tie up the game at 4. However, the second period was not done with scoring, because then it was Mario Ferraro, who I think it was Mario Ferraro. No, it can't have been Mario Ferraro. I think it must have been Thompson, who wears 36, similar to Ferraro wearing 38. Or is that Carlson, who wears 36? I'm losing track of all the numbers, people. There's too many young Sharks whose jersey numbers I haven't seen all season long, who only play every third game, that I don't have their numbers memorized. I'm sorry. Anyway, someone had a high stick on someone for the Wild. So the Wild went on a power play right before the end of the second period. And on this power play, Mario Ferraro actually blocked a shot right in front of the net, but the puck went right off the side of his skate, Corey, right off where the ankle is, and there's no padding in the skate. And you could just see he couldn't stand back up. He was on his hands and knees in front of the net. The puck fell kind of in that area, and Georgiev couldn't get it covered. And that was able to be put back home by the Wild. Even though there were only like 30 seconds remaining in the period, Mario was limping and was helped down the tunnel while the rest of the team was still finishing out the last little bit of the period. It was clearly a stinger, and I hope he's okay. I have not seen him back in this game. Obviously, I've been a bit distracted while we've been here talking, so can't say for certain if Mario has returned here in the third, as the third is down to just a couple minutes left. We are at 3:30 left in this game now. But that's another huge defensive loss if Mario is injured and out for some time. Corey, really quickly, do you want to add anything of value to the fans, or maybe explain what I was talking about with taking that puck hard, like the full force of the puck off the side of the skate?
So there have been a couple Avalanche players that this has happened to during this season, and unfortunately it happened at a terrible time to Ross Colton, who ended up breaking his ankle actually on a shot from the Blackhawks early on in the season, which was a real shame because he was on an absolute heater at the time. But people don't realize there's not any padding there. So when you're taking an 80, 90 mile per hour vulcanized rubber disc right off of the bone, and your foot is not a padded area either, so whether it's the foot or the ankle, that hurts. And you're lucky to walk away with just a bruise, but it definitely will stun you if it's something that's minor, it will at the very minimum stun you, and at the very worst, obviously, break something. It can be a pretty devastating injury to take it in that exact spot, but guys are willing to always throw down and sacrifice their bodies for the sport. So it's just the nature of how it goes sometimes. You're never trying to catch it off of the ankle, and it's crazy that it can hit a spot so small, but hopefully I gave you the answer that you were looking for, because I just kind of keyed in there at the last second.
No, great job there. So don't be sorry or anything. I guess you didn't say sorry. Hopefully, yes. The better answer is yes. You did a wonderful job answering that. And yeah, it was the outside of Mario Ferraro's left foot, right where you have that bone exposed, where it's just that thin layer of skin on the top. I'm 95% sure he has not come back into this game. I have not seen the number 38, so I'm just hoping that isn't broken. With only a few games left in the season, I would not be surprised if we've seen the last of Mario Ferraro this year, which is mildly disappointing. But again, what have I been talking about with the Sharks? I just want them to survive this season, get out without any more injuries. So this is disappointing to see another injury so late in the year. Quickly jumping to the third here, because the Sharks have taken a timeout. There is 2:01 left in the game. They have the goalie pulled. It is 7-6 Minnesota. The Sharks are going to have an offensive zone face-off here coming up. So let me finish my third period recap. Minnesota scored yet again on the power play right at the start, or very early in the third period. So they finished the second period with not one, but 2 power play goals, and then started the third period with another power play goal. So that is a hat trick for Eriksson Ek and 3 of 4 on the power play for the evening for the Wild. So again, the Sharks cannot afford to take penalties if their penalty kill cannot get a stop, especially with the offensive firepower of Minnesota's power play unit. It's too overpowering. It's not acceptable. And then Eriksson Ek, of course, scored his 4th of the evening less than 2 minutes later, actually less than a minute and a half later at 2:06 in the third to put Minnesota up 7-4. And at this point, I actually typed in my notes, it seemed very unlikely that the Sharks will play spoiler now. But we know, Corey, Kovalenko just some 3 minutes later to make it 7-5. And then MacLeod scored again with just about 6 or 10 minutes remaining to make it 7-6. Alderbrini race, like I said, still on. He has 4 points on the night with the 3 goals and the assist. That line with Kovalenko and Smith, I'm pretty sure has crossed. They're definitely past the 10-point threshold, but I do believe it's past 12. Coming down to the stretch here, the Sharks have had some great opportunities they've thrown at Flower. But I'm going to watch these last 90 seconds and hope that the Sharks can maybe force overtime here and still be the spoiler to the Wild. So
give us some play-by-play, Dom. Give us some play-by-play. We want it.
All right. Sharks fire it down into the zone, going for the chip and the chase to Foley there on the forecheck to get the puck. It looks like Smith had it, came out with it. They turned it back over to Minnesota, but it's still being battled for in the corner. Foley sends it around to the left point where Celebrini fires it across to Liljegren, drops it off to Smith. Smith fires it home off the left post and in. It is 7-7, everyone. This is me recording live time, and let's go. Another assist for Celebrini, another assist for Liljegren, a third straight game, 4 goals in 3 games for Will Smith. The kids together are on one. Watch out next year. I know the Sharks are struggling and just trying to survive this season. Corey, this team is going to be top 15 in goals scored next year. And they might not make the playoffs because they still have their defensive struggles sometimes. This team is going to be top 15 in goals scored next year. Bold prediction. It doesn't feel so bold. Like the offense is humming. It is 7-7 with 48 seconds left. So happy.
14 goals is absolutely mind-boggling.
14 goals on, I think the combined total is something like 72 shots on goal tonight.
That's crazy.
It is wild. And I mean, yeah, Georgiev is one of the goalies. Marc-Andre Fleury is the other. And Flower won. The Minnesota Wild have already played the Sharks twice. They've won both meetings with Fleury in net both games. But, I mean, I don't know what's going on, but the Sharks are scoring tonight. So I know I was potentially going to talk about some certain great comeback that happened in the league by Vancouver just this past week and some other historic great comebacks. I'm going to need a minute to watch the rest of this game, Corey. So how should we proceed?
Well, I feel like I have enough left to wing some of it, but that's all right. I think I have a way that we can do this. All right. Well, let's get into it. If we have any updates here, Dom, go ahead and hit us with it.
Well, thank you, Corey, for understanding that, supporting that. Thank you, everyone, for joining me in a longer In the Tank segment. I know I've talked more game tonight than I have in a couple episodes now. Not so much to talk about for the Sharks, but tonight's has been quite the one to watch. So go out there and watch the highlights from this game if you get a chance. It'll probably be longer than normal. Very worth your time. Thank you, Corey. I pass it back to you, and we can absolutely discuss some of those other things that I had planned later on if we have enough time.
Yep, absolutely. Well, everybody, the Colorado Avalanche, even in their losses, have scored a lot of goals this past week. And this makes sense as they have the 5th best goals per game in the NHL at 3.34. Not only that, but they are now getting scoring across their lineup, even in the absence of players like Marty Necas and Jonathan Drouin. Across only 3 games that we'll be discussing, they managed to grab 14 goals, which is a 4.67 goals per game. Nice. So I figured a fun way to look at all of the games this past week is to break down each of those goals, how they happened, and how it affected the game. I'll give you when it happened, the goal scorer, the primary and secondary assist, and perhaps an unsung hero who didn't end up on the score sheet. But without him, the goal wouldn't have happened. But without further ado, let's get into the Avs' most productive outing against the Columbus Blue Jackets, which that was the one that took the most amount of time. Because no surprise, because it looked like this was going to be another slow start for the Avs, but they quickly turned it around and took down a desperate, albeit deserving hockey club in Columbus. Colorado had 7 goals throughout the contest with 7 different goal scorers. Go ahead and munch on that one right there, everybody.
7 different goal scorers. That is 7 goals, 7 different goal scorers. There's 7 goals by each team in this game. Just everything's coming up 7,
it's
guys.
All 7.
Go get a lottery ticket.
Now, that's a contribution. Every single line for the Avalanche scored in this game, and they all contributed in different ways. So starting at goal number 1 at 3:25 of the first, Nathan MacKinnon, the league's point leader, got the ball rolling for the Avs, and this goal reminded me very much of the one that he scored off the feed from Jonathan Drouin a few games back. He's surrounded by about 3.5 Blue Jackets in intense defensive coverage, but still gets a quick shot off between Elvis Merzlikins' legs. Lecky gets the primary with Taves on the secondary. This all really comes from MacKinnon himself, who gets the puck to Lehkonen up the middle of the ice, who does a give and go with Taves. This allows Mac to drive downhill, where he cuts back to the middle of the slot, and it just gets through Merzlikins' legs. For goals number 2 at 18:05 of the first, Big Cock Brock strikes again, achieving his 299th career NHL goal, and it'll be really cool that 300 will hopefully come in a burgundy and blue sweater. The assists were from the best D pair in the league in Cale Makar and Devon Taves, creating a multi-point night for Taves on just the second goal for Colorado. The two heroes of this play are Cale Makar and LOC. LOC got it up ice and to Taves, who was ahead of the play. Cale then sends it off the back wall, and you may think that he missed the net, but no, this is in fact a legitimate play, and how it ended up unfolding is how it's supposed to work, with Nelson tucking it home, and this goal broke the first tie of the game, which was 1-1 at the time, now 2-1. Now, when goal number 3 was scored at 12:39 of the second, Charlie Coyle got his first in an Avalanche sweater, and it has been genuinely fantastic, or he personally has been genuinely fantastic as of late, and he gets the Avs the tie as Columbus had pulled ahead and had begun to outplay the Avs at this point. But this is where the momentum began to switch back into the favor of the Avs, as Columbus did not score another goal after this. Well, Miles Wood nails an assist to his point sheet, and Eric Johnson gets his first point since returning to the Avs. This goal was great for a lot of reasons. Eric Johnson is the key to this play, who hits a gorgeous outlet pass to Wood and allows that third line to get an odd man rush and make a sick play where Coyle picked a perfect corner. Now, an interesting note about this one is Kiwi Ranta absolutely could have received the pass as he was in the middle of the ice, but I think he saw the vision where Coyle was out on the wing and just absolutely roofed it on Elvis Merzlikins. Well, goal number 4 at 14:02 of the second period. It was a very productive second period for the Avalanche here. We get our fourth line grind goal from Parker Kelly, who is having a great season for that fourth line role on a feed from Jack Drury. This breaks the second tiebreaker now. I can't lie, this to me was my goal of the game because it exemplifies why that fourth line's chemistry, as we discussed previously, is so great. The play is actually set up by Parker Kelly himself as he sends it up the boards, but the hero who somehow didn't pick up an assist once again is Logan O'Connor, who wins a board battle, gets the puck to the center to Jack Drury, who could have taken the shot himself, but instead he sees Parker Kelly absolutely hustling his way up the ice to then take and fire it from the high slot right past Merzlikins. Now, goal number 5, this is an Avs team who is missing 2 of their top power play contributors in Netchis and Druin. So, in fairness, they have struggled on the man advantage. Vegas certainly was the example, and the boys have given up a couple of shorties lately. So, you haven't expected much, but at 19:22 of the second, Cale Makar makes history. He is the 9th defenseman in all of NHL history to hit 30 goals, the first to do it in an Avs uniform, and the first to do it since Mike Green scored 31 in 2008 and 2009. What was hilarious is that he scored it from where McKinnon typically likes to shoot his one-timers with a one-timer of his own. And in case anybody's wondering where that's at, that is in Ovi's office. And in case you're wondering where that's at, that is from the left dot down low. Now, of course, this comes on an assist from Nathan McKinnon, who, of course, did a fantastic job playing keep away from any Blue Jackets defenders in the O zone and was able to find the seam pass to Cale. Coyle actually set this up on a great bank pass, and Mac just seemed to hold on to it eternally until the perfect opportunity appeared. He literally was skating loop-de-loops in the zone, and unfortunately for any Blue Jackets defender, they just aren't going to catch the man. Well, we finally make it to goals that were scored in the third period. At 4:01 of the third, Devon Toews gets in on the action on a reverse feed from Makar and McKinnon. Simple play. Mac wins the faceoff. Cale and Toews are up high at the blue line. Cale passes it across. Toews shoots it. Lehkonen is providing a great screen in front by getting into a battle. It goes in. Simple, beautiful multi-point nights for both Mac and Cale. And finally, for goal number 7, I'm out of breath at this point, as I'm sure Columbus was, having to be so exasperated watching the Avs score so many goals. Not too long after, at 5:49 of the third, Miles Wood finally gets a goal, again on a solo feed from Charlie Coyle for his third point of the night, which was absolutely just a killer night for Coyle, as I already mentioned. Kiviranta technically wins a board battle, although he didn't touch it in a way for some reason. I don't know. You watch the replay, it looks like, but, that's just not how they counted it. And it's finds its way to Coyle, who is coasting behind the Avs net, who then has the wherewithal to catch Miles Wood crashing towards the front of the net, where he pots it in. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building with a stick smash included. Now, oh boy, that sounds like the Wild ended up still winning it in OT. I'm so sorry, Dom.
Kirill the Thrill makes me cry. He had a great zone entry. He's cutting to his left, dishes the puck back to the point, and then instantly skates to his right, to the right dot, wide open ice, gets the return pass like a classic basketball give and go. Fires it home on the net. Georgiev can't get across. Top shelf game. Sharks barely, if at all, had possession of the puck in the overtime. They go to 4-6 on the year in overtime. The Wild are 7-4. The Wild's here now. Hi, St. Louis again on 93 points. Continue to hold off Calgary, and officially have eliminated Utah from playoff contention.
Oh shit, that eliminated Uter?
Yeah, Utah's on they're on 84 points and only have 4 games remaining. This will put the Wild at 93, so that puts them 9 away and therefore out of touch.
Damn. I love it, or I'm sorry. I don't love it. Sorry, I was saying to somebody else that I love it, but I'm sorry, my friend, but I think you still have to be proud of the effort that your boys put out there, considering no goalie could seemingly make a save. The Sharks managed to keep themselves in it. Still lots of, I think, positives to pull out of this, and a lot of stat padding too.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, on the night, so I have the exact things for you. When we talk Calderbrini, how about 5 points? 3 goals, 2 assists. Will Smith, also top 5 in that Rookie of the Year race, 4 points, 1 goal, 3 assists. And his third straight game with a goal scored. Liljegren, Thompson each had 2 points in the game as well. And another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Sharks had at least a point in the game. So a lot of stat padding. I mean, shit, Georgiev made 36 saves. I mean, yeah, he gave up the last goal, but he still actually finished with a better save percentage than Flower. I mean, allowing 8 goals, he still had an .818 save percentage, which just tells you just how many shots Minnesota threw at him. Whereas Fleury allowed 7 goals on 31 Shark shots for a .774. We love Flower. He's a legend, but this is why Gustafson's going to be their number one goalie going into the playoffs. I mean, got to recognize Eriksson Ek, like you said, in his return. Huge respect. He had 8 shots on goal in the night, 4 hits, 13 faceoffs, won. I mean, what a game. Boldy with 4 assists, Zuccarello with 3 assists, Kirill the Thrill 2 goals and assists. So the top guys for the Wild starting to play well. Maybe this Wild team's starting to find themselves again, and if they can not give up so many goals, maybe they can be that team that gives a team a push here in the first round of the playoffs, like we've talked about. But anyway, thank you for letting me lament the sadness of the loss, but also recognize good game, Wild. And yeah, I think it's possible. Have to see based on the tiebreakers, but it might have eliminated Vancouver as well, because Vancouver is exactly 8 points behind with 4 games remaining. So depending on tiebreakers, it might have eliminated them as well.
Well, that'd be tragic for them, obviously, with their comeback last night that we won't spoil. But yeah, it just shows how much the Wild missed and needed both Eriksson Ek and Kirill. So no surprise that impact was felt immediately. But some final notes here on the Blue Jackets game is Erik Johnson actually moved into Colorado's all-time lead for blocked shots at 1,365, which is remarkable that even after missing a couple years with the team, still managed to set that stat. And what's even more impressive is the man has been injured blocking those shots more often than not, and still has had a very long and successful NHL career. So good on you, EJ. Love you, buddy. Something else that's interesting is Jacob McDonald, AHL defenseman for the Eagles, who is having one of the best seasons for a defenseman in the AHL. He is about to hit 30 goals, which is equally as, well, not quite as equally impressive, but still very impressive. He had his gear bag. This is the short version of this story. It was very entertaining. He had his gear bag lost at the airport. So he had a mishmash of equipment from different guys. Like he had this guy's helmet, this guy's stick, this guy's fucking jockstrap. It was crazy because he had none of his own equipment. He then gets a call, or sorry, he gets all that different mishmash, and he still scored a goal in the game. He gets a call at 3:30 a.m. that his wife is going into labor. He gets on a 5 a.m. flight, and he made it back in time for the birth of his child.
Wow. Well, happy to hear that he made it back in time. What a crazy. How many hours was that? 24, 48, 72? What are we talking?
All within like a 24-hour span.
Jesus. Wow.
Yeah.
Way to go. Congrats, Dad.
So, congrats to him. I did say after this game here that it's very realistic that Cale Makar could hit 100 points this year, which I don't think a lot of people are recognizing, although I believe he's at 91 right now with 3 games left. So it's a bit of an outside chance, but I mean, he is Cale Makar. 3 3-point games is not necessarily out of the question for someone like him. So it is still possible. And I know he will hit 100 points at some point before the end of his career. He's already, I believe, broken and tied the Avalanche season high for points by a defenseman in a single season. He's not human. But this
all hail Cale.
Absolutely. But this win clinched the playoffs for the Colorado Avalanche for the 8th year in a row. So something to definitely celebrate at that point. Well, Dom, I actually didn't have time to, because there's so many goals by the Blue Jackets, didn't have time to write up anything for the St. Louis game. So I think a fun exercise, if you can go into Discord here, you should be able to see a live stream of my screen. Is that correct? Yep. Well, I
see it.
I think a fun exercise to do here, because I actually heard some of these goals on the radio, is if we go and we review these goals live, because the Avalanche, despite being down 0-4, as you can see, they dug themselves a hole early in this game, did almost manage to complete the comeback against a Blues team who ended up with their 12th straight win after this one, but thankfully was shattered against the Jets. But I think what we'll do is I'll review the first goal, you review the second goal, I'll review the third, you review the fourth, and both of us can interject as necessary, but we'll just kind of say what we see here. And let's get rolling here. So
And
first,
everyone else listening, drink your water.
drink your water. Well, first goal comes for the Avalanche finally at 15:32 of the second period from the good Ross Colton himself, who is actually unfortunately injured, but it sounds like a minor day-to-day thing. On a feed from Logan O'Connor. Logan O'Connor absolutely gets a player of the week. I talked about him tons for the last game. Once again, actually getting on the score sheet for this goal. He had himself a week. Well, we take a look at this goal here. We'll see that the Blues are once again set up in the Colorado Avalanche's zone, but a quick missed pass gets it outside the zone. Logan O'Connor takes down his man, gets it up the ice over to Colton, who's able to absolutely deke it around
Lick
Jordan
hands.
Binnington. Exactly. So a misplay by the Blues, which was rare in this game, allowed Logan O'Connor to just take down his man. It looks like in
He
Radek
just slipped.
Fox.
He lost an edge.
Yeah. And
Looked
Logan
like,
O'Connor.
I mean, that was basically a 2-on-0 at that point.
Yeah. Or no, yeah, that's I'm sorry, that is Nick Leddy. And Logan or Ross Colton receives it in the center of the ice. For some reason, Binnington is on the ground. Why is he on the ground? Hold on. I think he just misjudged that play. Yeah. Binnington, I think, misjudged where the puck was going. He went for the poke check. It threw him off balance. And that's the kind of goaltender Binnington is he's very explosive in his style. And that can sometimes be exposed off the rush, which is exactly the kind of goal that this is right here. That's how you beat Binnington, and the Avalanche exemplified it perfectly. The Blues have been playing absolutely great shutdown hockey, which is limiting those rush chances as we talked about before. But right there, the Avalanche kind of created their own luck after a bad play from the Blues. So great job on their part to get that first goal and make it at least not a shutout, because Jordan Binnington has never shut out the Colorado Avalanche, and motherfucker, it ain't happening today. Fuck you, Jordan. Fuck you, bitch. All right. I'm gonna. that one struck you silly, huh?
I mean, I'm the one who always calls him Jordan Bitchington. Like, I dislike this man just on a personal level. So I personally got plenty of enjoyment out of that. Maybe too much, but you know what? I don't care. I had a good time with it.
Alrighty, Dom, this goal is all yours, but I'll set it up for you. This is Miles Wood's second goal in 2 games, once again off of a feed from Charlie Coyle. Miles Wood is making it very difficult, as we already discussed, to take his name off of the roster here when Gabriel Landeskog returns, because it seems like he himself has had some fantastic chemistry with Charlie Coyle. So it'll be a tough decision to make, but he gets the next one here at 17:45 of the second period. So, Dom, what do we see here?
We see, stretch pass up the left side of the ice. Looks like it was tipped. If strong forecheck from the Avs gets the puck back on the right-hand side. Some puck battle along the boards. Looks like the Blues had it, but they turn it back over. Pass right to the slot. Oh, what a great feed. I mean, was that just a quick off the wrist, Corey? Would you say that? Because it wasn't like a slap shot one-timer. It was just perfect timing and a quick release.
And I mean, this is those kind of third and fourth line grinder goals that you look for. Even though Kivi Ranta doesn't get on the score sheet, he's the one who pressures the Blues, causing them to make that turnover. And it's an almost identical play to the one that Coyle had for Miles Wood in the game previously against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I mean, you can't ask for anything better. They've connected the same way multiple times. Miles Wood is incredibly good at crashing the front of the net. So I mean, just bing, bang, bop, boom, pow. But I mean, that play doesn't happen. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, yeah, effort play and puck battles. That's what you want from your third and fourth line. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I cut you off. I apologize.
No, don't apologize. But yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. That is what you want from your third and fourth line guys. That is how you win games and get goal scoring from the lines, is winning those puck battles, forcing those turnovers, and when they happen, capitalizing, because you don't get those opportunities all the time to be able to put the puck on the net like that and be in the slot. Like, I know Miles Wood is good about crashing the net, but how often is he going to be there and have that opportunity? So good on him to put it home when he had the chance.
Exactly. And I mean, those guys are not always going to be the ones who score the flashy tic-tac-toe goals or the crazy dekes or whatever. They're the ones who are going to score those hard work goals where you win a puck battle, just as they did there. They force the Blues to make an error. They get it to their guy in front of the net, who's able to wrist it past Binnington. So that was all they could manage for the second period, but it gave the Avs some hope, right? They're down 4-2 now, but they're able to get 2 back going into the third, which is always a good sign. I think I closed this out for some reason. So, of course, the depth has been getting their goals. So Nathan MacKinnon off of a feed from Brock Nelson, and Cale Makar, of course, has to get in on the action. Unfortunately, this goal would not come until 17:42 of the third period, although the Avalanche really upped the pressure against the Blues in this third period. They just couldn't get it to where it needed to go. But if we skip ahead here, we take a look-see. So the Avalanche have already got 6 skaters on the ice with the empty net. Cale Makar and Brock Nelson are playing pitch and catch. Nelson feeds it across to MacKinnon, who is not being covered literally at all. I mean, there's literally no one in the middle of the ice here to stop this pass for some reason. I think all the Blues are more concerned with trying to defend Binnington in front of the net, but unfortunately, he's screened by his own man here as well as Charlie Coyle, so he couldn't have seen that puck coming.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. It looked like it took a redirect or it hit Binnington's pad. Like, it seemed to change angles slightly right there in the front. I know it's credited to MacKinnon, so it wouldn't have been an Av stick, but did you see that where it wasn't just a clean puck into net there? Like, the reaction from Binnington makes it seem like he got a piece or it had some slight redirection here. It didn't seem like it went in clean.
It goes off of a Blues stick. It goes off of the man in front. I can't tell who that is. Falk. It is Justin Falk who redirects the puck through Jordan Binnington's legs. Off of it's off of his foot. It's off of his calf and through Jordan Binnington's 5-hole, and it squeaks through. Wow. And I mean, sometimes those are the ones that go in. It's just the goobery, unlucky ones. Now, here's something that's fantastically unlucky is the Blues missed multiple empty nets. The Avs still have 6 on 5. And what's tragic here is the Blues managed to somehow send it down the ice. It redirects off of an Avs skate. It looks like it's going to miss, but it goes post and in. This is the point where I actually turned off the game. So, Dom, the Avalanche did actually manage to score one more goal, which is tragic because they could have still tied it here, but unfortunately, St. Louis pots home the empty netter. But if you want to go ahead and give us a read on the Avalanche's final goal here, Dom, what do we see on the ice?
What do we see? It looked like it went in there initially. The Blues have the puck, but it looks like they turn it over in their own zone, held in at the point, walking in from the right side. Who was that? Was that
Sam Malinsky? Yes. Wow, that was fucking sexy. Holy shit.
What was getting the number right or him walking in the way he did?
Walking in the way he did. Another win by Logan O'Connor behind the net. That's fantastic.
Great by Taves at the point.
Yep. Wow. Another screen in front.
He had the entire right half of the ice. I mean, he could walk all the way in.
Gets it through 2 Blues players, Parker Kelly and Jordan Binnington himself. Wow. What a fucking shot.
Yeah, what a shot indeed. Unfortunately, it seems to be too little too late here for the Avalanche, but wow. I mean, two 6-on-5 goals. I mean, that's where you got to think. And maybe it's not there. Yes, giving up too many goals too early is their fault. 5 goals on 22 shots. Not a great night from Blackwood. Not a great night from the defense in front of him. But, that's not even all 4 goals were on Blackwood.
Yes, correct.
Because of the empty netter. So, not a great night from Blackwood, but, after that point in the second, when they were up 4-0, the Avs locked it down. So you kind of got to wonder, they just got one of those other chances, one of the many chances they had in this game. I mean, 39 shots on goal. If they get one more of those on net, this game's going to overtime.
Yes, and there were, of course, multiple points where that occurred. And I saw a nice title, and I don't even need to read the article to know what they mean, in that the Avalanche, with improved goaltending as well as a defensive game, have become blowout proof. They didn't get blown out in a game that they very much looked like they were going to get blown out in. But despite the loss, still battled back and made the Blues sweat a little bit. This 12th win by no means came easy for this Blues team. And, I think just certain things didn't go their way. They got into penalty trouble early again in this game, which is just unfortunately not the recipe for success. But ultimately, I feel like if these teams met again, I could definitely see it going a different way in the way of the Avs. But unfortunately, the result is what the result is, and we just kind of have to live with it.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate reality sometimes. And, it sucks that it comes across against the Blues, kind of a 4-point game there. Maybe not for the Avs with having locked up that third spot, but, it had that type of feel, especially as being a rival in the Central. I know the Blues trying to get every point they can. And I know, Corey, you'd rather see the Blues play Winnipeg
I would.
and have one of those teams beat each other up. I know I'm obviously from the Sharks' perspective just wishing pain upon Vegas. I invite you to say your favorite phrase once again.
Fuck you, Rico!
So we might feel differently about that one, but either way, that feeling of a 4-point loss, 4-point swing for the Avs in this one. But like you said, very good to see, to be blowout proof. And that is a good thing to see coming into the playoffs. Yes, you don't want to be down 4 goals. We'd rather be down 4 goals and come back than up 3 goals and find a way to lose. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying nudge, nudge, wink, wink. We'll keep on moving along.
Yep. Well, jumping here into the Vegas game, I actually got to go to this game last minute. Thank you.
Woo-woo.
Thank you, Chris and his family, for gifting myself and my friend the tickets. We really appreciate it. Great seats. Couple fun stories from this game. First, before we get into the goals here. One is that with my friend, we were sitting next to some ladies who were inebriated, had a few beverages this evening, and towards the conclusion of the third period, the younger of the two, I believe it was a mom and her daughter, she had a churro, and she had almost finished the churro, and she just absolutely glazed it up with caramel sauce. And, well, she looked at my buddy who was with me, who's a fine-looking gentleman, I will say. She looked at him and said, "Hey, do you want to Lady in the Tramp this with me?" My friend.
In front of her mom too.
Yeah, her mom also spilled beer all over the floor and all over our shoes, so they weren't looked upon very kindly in our eyes. And of course, I don't want to put this person down for any of their attributes or qualities, but to put it nicely, not really my friend's type. And so he, of course, politely declined, to which she immediately responded, "Is it because I'm ugly?" To which he said, "That is not at all what I said. I just said no thank you." So,
yeah, I don't know. I didn't see, but for lack of a better word, sloppy sounds like a reasonable analysis between the mess, the drunkenness, and that response. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not trying to call
Put
people
anybody
out.
down.
We say drink your water.
Yeah.
So just maybe everyone, if you find yourself inebriated and you're in public, maybe just drink your water and take care of yourself and your neighbors in the process. And yeah, I'm sorry that you and your friend had to deal with that experience.
It was funny. It was funny. It was all we laughed about it after the fact. So no harm done. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to the season ticket holder next to me. I somehow never caught your name, but if you somehow hear this podcast, because I'm sure you saw me taking copious notes throughout the game, you were a real one. You were really cool. I enjoyed our conversations. Thanks for letting me talk your ear off the entire game. An equally level-headed fan who accepted my weirdness and gooberiness throughout the game. So thank you, my guy. You were super cool. But I also would like to call out two fans behind me who were Avalanche fans, but who were absolute fucking wieners, bro. Tier wieners. Oh my god. I just need to write down where this is at so I can edit that later. But they complained like the entire game about the Avalanche state of play. First of all, I would like to say that the Avalanche really outplayed Vegas this entire game. Like, despite going down 2-0, I felt that the Avalanche had the edge the entire time. The first one was a shorty. Yeah, that fucking sucks. We hate shorthanded goals, but the Avalanche overall had the edge in the period, and by the end of the period, the guy goes, well, that period sucked. No, sir, it didn't. The Avalanche are only down by 1 goal, and they are constantly pressuring Vegas. Really, it came down to the second star of the game, who he deserved it, Akira Schmidt, who this was his second game of the season and just played out of his mind. Thankfully, the Avs avoided Jakub Dovish syndrome and didn't get goalied by the young netminder. So really great play on his part is what kept the Avalanche at bay, is because the Avalanche, I think, ended the game with over 30 shots. And if there wasn't an overtime to be had, Vegas would have had less than 20. So you can't tell me that the Avalanche did not outplay Vegas this game. Just certain things weren't going their way, like the second goal that Vegas scored. That just kind of somehow got past everybody, including Wedgwood. I've never heard an arena so quiet in my life. So they complained the entire night. They complained when the Avalanche scored. We'll get into it, but they're like, well, I wish the puck could have gone into the net cleanly. Bro, who cares? They scored. It's in the goal. And even when the game was tied, it was just bitch, bitch, bitch. Brother, root for your team. Like, how are you complaining when they are outplaying the team? They've tied the game. They're doing their best. And I think you might forget that, I don't know, Vegas leads the Pacific Division. Don't know if you forgot that. And they're also, as much as we all hate it, a very good hockey team. So, you know, what a shock that they give the Avalanche, who are also injured and without 2 of their top power play contributors, as we've discussed. Like, it was so unbelievably irritating, because when the Vegas Golden Knights got their shorty, the dude behind me goes, well, that's a goal. And of course, I turned around. I'm just like, who said that? And his wife kind of sold him out. I'm like, dude, don't put that negative energy into the world. Why are you trying to manifest that shit? So don't be a fucking bitch is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that I mean, I don't know how old they are, but they sound
middle-aged. Middle-aged.
Oh, they're middle-aged. No shit. They had the entitlement and just the general, like, disdain and misunderstanding for the sport that we would expect from a novice fan who was young and probably Gen Z. I wouldn't have been surprised if you told me they were younger 20s, but what a disappointment to be middle-aged and just be like that. Like, how depressed are you that you can't even get enjoyment from a game? I'm sure they're there away from their kids and stuff, can have a good time, be adults out on the town, enjoy a game, and that's how they take the approach to it. Disgusting.
And I mean, like, they seemed knowledgeable, but they were saying things that just were completely silly in a game that the Avalanche were just absolutely not out of. And we've seen them come back in games that they absolutely were out of, and it was way worse of a scenario. But no, I knew for a fact that they were gonna come away with the win in this game. It was just a matter of time. But just the amount of, like, is criticality a word? Just the amount of criticality, I'm gonna make it a word if it isn't, that they displayed the entire game. Like, I'm sorry you cannot enjoy your hockey team playing well. I understand that their power play is kind of booty ass right now, and it's frustrating to watch. You should grow up, though. Like, oh my God. Not to mention, we got a goal on the power play. So just unbelievable. And that also goes to the bald-headed glasses man and his friend to the left and in the front row, who throughout the first period just could not stop yelling, shoot the puck. And to that I say, how about you go down on the ice and shoot the puck? And you tell me just how easy that is. While I understand that the Avalanche have had issues all year passing up certain opportunities, I could definitely see in this game where Vegas defended super well that's not always the best option. I know that might sound crazy, but it probably isn't, because we see the game from up top where we can see everything. They see the game from on the ice. So, you know, bald man who shouted at the team, I'm sure you really spurred them on to success with your constant encouragement.
Yeah, I'm sure they could totally hear you and take in what you were saying, bald man, and really, really care about your opinion. I mean, listen, I'm guilty of sometimes screaming "finish your checks" just because we all do it sometimes. We all want to have an input and tell the guys what to do out there because it's easier to critique from up above than it is on the ice, right? But yeah, I mean, be be optimistic, be positive, and just don't be a broken record. Come on.
Did I mention that he was bald? Anyway, let's get into these goals here. Dom, we'll just both kind of break these down here. This is one of the wildest goals I have ever seen. There's been a couple, I don't know if you've seen, a couple no goals recently that are literally sitting with like a pixel of red behind them. So let's take a look at this one here on the power play. Nichushkin gets it over to McKinnon, dances around, gets it towards the net. Coyle gets it. Nichushkin shoots it into Akira Schmidt's glove. And you think, well, guess we'll have to reset, try again. But no, that is not quite what happened here. As the referee comes and says, the play is under review. Akira Schmidt catches it in his glove, but does he perhaps catch it behind the line? Let's see. Do you see it?
I mean, it looks like it could be over the line. Oh, that's in the back of that glove. I mean, it looks like it could be over the line. That's for sure. Let's see while it's slowed down. The glove is certainly in the net. If it is in the back of the glove, that is fully in the net. Yes.
It is, in fact, a spoiler alert, a goal. One of the strangest ones I have seen. Well, that one comes from McKinnon just getting it to the front of the damn net. Coyle wins the puck battle, and Nichushkin just throws it into Akira Schmidt's glove. But of course, Nichushkin has the power of a nuclear bomb in his hands. That's why they call him Nuke. And so he shot it so hard into Akira Schmidt's glove that it forced his hand over the line. They had a hard time getting it past Schmidt as that one came. I think I already mentioned 9:46 of the second period. So the fact that they finally get rewarded with that goal is you'll take whatever you can get. But the positive story of the night is at 17:08 of the second period, Jimmy Vesey off of a feed from Coyle, who again gets a 2-point night. Like I said, Charlie Coyle is one of our players of the week. And Miles Wood. So I'll spoil it for y'all right now. Our three players of the week, in no particular order really, are Logan O'Connor, Miles Wood, and Charlie Coyle, who just had monster weeks for the Avalanche, both on the score sheet and away from the puck. These guys just exemplified what the third and fourth line are supposed to do. A lot to love about what they're doing and a lot to love going into the playoffs, especially with the Avalanche being as injured as they are kind of to finish off the season here. So let's take a look at what Jimmy Vesey was able, in the wrong tab, able to accomplish here. Let's see, are we at the right place? No, we need to skip ahead a little further here. All right, everybody. So Charlie Coyle gets it towards the front of the net, takes it around the outside of the boards to Lindgren, who shoots it off of a Vegas player. Miles Wood shoots it off the net. And Coyle, once again, from behind the net, gets it out to Vesey, who scores. Don't let Charlie Coyle get behind your net. He is a bad, bad man from there. Would you not agree, Dominic Playa?
You should not let anyone behind your net, period, because you don't have eyes in the back of your head. And if you're turning to look that way, then you're not looking at the slot in front of you. But yeah, Charlie Coyle clearly knows what to do back there. He has a lot of experience from his time in Boston with that style of play. It definitely works with his style. So if he wins races to the pucks there right at the end line, it typically ends badly for you. So, well, good for you, Avs fans, but badly for your opponents.
Absolutely. And I mean, what I love about this play is really it's just bunches of guys shooting it towards the net. Lindgren gets it towards the net. Wood gets it towards the net. And then finally, Coyle takes it with an absolute heads-up play by Vesey, who has to battle through 4 Vegas defenders and, of course, Akira Schmid to pot it upstairs. Unfortunately,
and he caught them all puck watching, it looks like.
Exactly.
Where all their heads are looking in the same place.
Yep, including Mark Stone, who is an absolutely fantastic defensive forward. Well, That would unfortunately be the last goal the Avalanche would be able to score in regulation. It was an utterly butt-clenching overtime where Vegas actually got a power play in the final 45 seconds. But Cale Makar is the best defenseman on the planet for a reason. He did everything he could to keep the puck out of the back of his net. And of course, Scott Wedgwood comes up big, which takes us to the worst thing in the world, the shootout. And while it technically doesn't count towards... Well, now I got to get that down. Oh my goodness me. Well,
sorry, I went off book there, but it was too good of an opportunity.
That was funny. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close down our live stream here because we reviewed everything that we need to. While it technically doesn't count towards the stat sheet, it still counts towards the win for the Avalanche. Scott Wedgwood had done his job. He stopped every Vegas shooter in a game that the Avalanche nearly got goalied in by Akira Schmid. As I already said, he played fantastic when the Avs turned it on against Vegas. But when all hope seemed lost and the other Avs shooters had missed, enter Charlie Coyle. No assists, just Coyle. He actually pulled off a very similar move and picked the same spot that McKinnon had tried, but he had rang it off the iron. This time, though, Coyle roofed it right under the bar and helped the Avs walk away with not only the dub, but pretty much solidifying their place as third in the Central, allowing them to pretty much lock up that first round matchup with Dallas. But you would think, man, Dallas has been winning some games lately. Why wouldn't Dallas contest for first place in the Central Division? Well, Dom, why don't you tell us why?
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, so Dallas won't be contesting, and this is something I hinted at.
This will be our fun fact for the day, by the way, everybody. This is the fun fact.
This is the fun fact. Dallas
Facts
was up.
up.
Facts. Yes, we have multiple facts. And don't forget, we need to have a moment for the Great Eight.
Yes,
So I
and
know this
there's
might run a
plenty of
little
time.
long.
There's plenty of time to do it. Let's just keep rolling.
Dallas leads 5-2. All right, 5-2 with 19 minutes or just over 19 minutes.
No, exactly.
Gone in the third.
Exactly 19 minutes gone in the
Well,
third.
they were leading 5-2 with just over 19 minutes. At the 19-minute mark,
Yes,
on the button,
true.
it was Atu Rati who for the Vancouver Canucks who cut the lead to 5-3 on a shot from the bottom of the left face-off circle. Then it was P.S. Suter.
But Dom, Dallas had already scored the empty netter on Vancouver to put them up 5-2. There's no way they lost this game. There's only a minute remaining.
Well, I mean, this is why Dallas better watch out for the Avalanche, because it was P.S. Suter. Remember that name I mentioned a little while ago? If he might be available, maybe the Sharks should look into him. He scored not once, Corey, but twice in the final 30 seconds with Thatcher Demko for Vancouver pulled for an extra skater. Suter, so after making it 5-3 at exactly the 19-minute mark, Suter made it 5-4 at exactly the 19:30 mark with a shot from the back door, like a sharp angle. He was on the backdoor side, able to put it home, although there was originally a sharp angle shot that opened up that opportunity for him. And then again, 5-5 to tie up the game with only 7 seconds left on the clock. It was a sharp angled shot. This time he was basically standing with one skate on the red line on the end line, sending it home top shelf. Only one way it can go home. A goalie really can do the best they can to stop it, but that's a shooter just being a shooter right there and picking their point and putting it home. Unbelievable to be able to, in the span of 60 seconds, 53 seconds to be exact, go from trailing 5-2 after giving up an empty net goal to tying the game at 5 on the road in Dallas, no less.
That was the part that was hilarious to me, is that it was in Dallas. And I mean, really, we always see empty netters as sealing the game, and really under any circumstances it would be. And I mean, pretty much every circumstance it is. But something must have just been in the Canucks Gatorade that night, man, because this is not only an all-time comeback by the Canucks, but an all-time collapse by Dallas.
It is the fastest 3 goals scored There's a stat here. This is scored 3 times in the final minute of the third period. This is the first team in NHL history to overcome a 3-goal deficit in the final minute of regulation. NHL history. This Canucks team would have been eliminated with a loss in regulation in the game. Yes, they were still eliminated tonight due to Minnesota's win.
Oh,
but
so they were officially eliminated?
They were officially eliminated, I confirmed, based on the tiebreakers. So that's unfortunate for them. But sticking on this game this night, it was do or die. And that was what was in their Gatorade. And that was something we've talked about, where every team needs to know and treat every game like it is a do or die playoff game. And that is why Dallas is in trouble and should keep looking over their shoulder, because if they're able to blow leads like that at home, I don't think that home ice advantage in the first round really matters that much. Now, does it? I don't know. But they've been playing sloppy recently. Yes, they went on that winning streak and put themselves in a position to maybe challenge Winnipeg for the #1 overall seed. I think that time has passed, and they've been rather sloppy in their last 3 games.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because we talk about it time and time again, and I already kind of mentioned it today, is that hockey is a game of both emotion and momentum. And I think I said it last episode that people sometimes underestimate just how much impact that momentum can have on the sway of a game. Yeah, it can sometimes be broken with a timely goal, but I would have been shocked if Vancouver didn't win this game. Because I mean, when you mount a comeback like that, I just don't see it as even possible to lose. Because what I didn't know at the time when you texted me was when you said they scored, 3 in the final minute, I was like, wow, that's insane. I didn't know that had never happened, first of all. And second of all, I didn't realize that Dallas had already potted the empty netter and that the score was 5-2. I thought it was still like something around that 3-1 range that it had been before. So that is just insane. But I mean, that momentum just pushed them over the edge, and it happened very, very fast and very, very quickly, which is why I also say it's an all-time collapse by Dallas, because usually it takes a period, sometimes a little longer, to get that momentum like built up over time. So it's insane.
Well, and this is inherent. You cannot have an all-time NHL record comeback without an all-time collapse on the other end.
Right.
You don't have one without the other. The two go hand in hand. It is both a team stepping up and playing outside of their minds and their body and just having a come to God moment and getting a win, as much as another team just saying, here you go, and just handing away a sure thing. Both go together. And how about this? Again, they're on a 3-game losing streak. Earlier this week, they were leading 3-2 in the second period, or in the third period, 3 minutes into the third period, on a hat trick from Evgeny Dadonov, once again at home, when they let the Penguins, the eliminated near bottom of the East Penguins, score 3 goals unanswered, allowing Sidney Crosby to get an empty netter to have his own hat trick and lose the game 5-3. And in between there, those losses, those third period collapses, obviously not as severe as what we saw in Vancouver with 3 in a minute. But those bookended a loss at Minnesota, which, again, when we talk about in the Central, that is a 4-point game. Losing that one in overtime, so ultimately they did get a point in that at least. Again, they also got a point against Vancouver. But this team is, like I said, 3 straight games playing very sloppy. They host Winnipeg tomorrow night. Who's to say? I wouldn't feel good about that. They finished the season against 3 teams that are eliminated or effectively eliminated, hosting Utah, at Detroit, at Nashville. I mean, I think they need to get those last games right and beat up on those opponents to get their minds right. Otherwise, they should be concerned. They should be very concerned, staring down the barrel at an Avs team who, by the way, is going to have a lot more rest coming into the first round than they will. Their final game is on the 16th for the Stars. Colorado's final game is on the 13th. That 3 extra days of rest, that is enormous.
And I think I'll save more thoughts on that exact topic for for next week, but it's definitely some food for thought here as we go forward here into our playoff preview.
Absolutely. Yeah, we will break it down at length. I'm sure we will be making our picks and why, going through our brackets. It'll be a fun time. I look forward to that one next week.
As do I. But what else do you have in tandem with this? Or if you want to share some more kind of crazy comebacks that you found, or if you want to jump into Ovi, we have time for both or for either, whatever you would like to do here.
So I did find some of the greatest comebacks, or some of the shortest comebacks as well, of all time. How about this one? 1985. Those old school Oilers, those top tier Oilers with all the big names we've talked about before, including a guy by the name of Paul Coffey. The Los Angeles Kings, and we talk about the Kings Edmonton rival, goes back a long time. Here we are in 1985. The Kings lead 7-2 with 1:28 remaining in the second period. The Oilers score 6 unanswered to win 8-7. So not 3 goals in a minute, but how about that comeback from the Oilers with Gretzky and all the big names there, Paul Coffey, etc. Wow, what a comeback that one was, I would have to say. Let's see. That's another one. I want to find one of the ones I wrote down. That's here's one I found specifically. March 3rd, 1999. Corey, do you know what team came back from down 5 goals to win against the Florida Panthers?
I do, because it was one of our fun facts. And if you don't know about this fun fact, you need to go back and listen to the old episodes. It was the Colorado Avalanche, baby.
Yes, it was the Colorado Avalanche. And you did say this already, Corey, so I won't spend too long on it. But they were trailing 5-0. They scored 7 unanswered goals in the final 22 minutes. Peter Forsberg leading the way with 6 points, a hat trick, and 3 assists. What a game from Forsberg there. So that one was pretty good. And then let's do honorable mention, because it's me and I'm biased. How about 2019 in the playoffs?
Oh,
Fuck you, Vegas. You want to talk about quick comebacks? How about the fact that the Sharks were trailing 3-0 in the third when a jackass who will not be named, who I've talked about on a previous episode of the podcast, go listen to our Heroes and Villains segment, cross-checks my dearly beloved captain and now retired Joe Pavelski in the face and causes him to hit his head on the ice and bleed profusely. Well, it's the playoffs. It's Game 7 of Round 1. It's these now hated rivals of San Jose and Vegas. What did we do? Oh, let me tell you, Corey, because I don't need more than I just need silence as enough excuse to go through and talk about this one. How about Logan Couture scoring at 9:20 in the third, followed by Tomas Hertl scoring at 10:09, followed by Couture again at 12:53, and Kevin LeBanc at 13:21, all in the third period. All 4 of those goals coming on a 5-minute major power play for the offenses committed. Prior to that, Hertl and LeBanc also had, actually LeBanc had assists on all 3 of the first goals, so he scored 4 points on those 4 goals. Hertl had 2, Couture had the 2 scores, and even the defensemen Burns and Erik Karlsson were involved. This comeback fueled a hated rivalry. The hit fueled the rivalry from our side. The comeback is why Vegas hates us just as much, because people will debate and say the call was iffy, should have been a double minor. Fuck them. The Sharks got the call. The Sharks scored the goals. Jonathan Marchessault did force overtime with a goal at 19:13, but the Sharks, like you said, Corey, when you have a big comeback like that, they were not going to be denied, and it was Barclay Goodrow, the once and current Shark, scoring the game-winning overtime goal. Sharks move on. Vegas, go home and stay there. Thank you very much. We can't talk comebacks without 4 goals in 4 minutes on the major power play in 2019.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one to remember, because I was very much against the Sharks at the time because they had beaten us in the playoffs. So I didn't like you guys. I definitely didn't like you guys, but it's fun. It's fun to reflect on now. But Dom, I think we'll keep it chugging along here. You have something to say about the Great Eight?
And this is really, I hope, the highlight of our evening, because we've talked about a lot of exciting things. And so for those of you who have stayed with us and continue to listen all the way to the end of the episode, we appreciate you very much. And I hope you also can appreciate the history that we have had the opportunity to witness in our lifetime that we might very well not see again in our lifetime. It is very possible, because Alex Ovechkin has officially reached goal number 895 of his career on Sunday, April 6th at the New York Islanders, breaking the great one, Wayne Gretzky's record of 894 goals scored in his illustrious career. Ovi completed this feat in exactly 1,487 games, which is actually the exact same number of games played by Gretzky in the entirety of his career. So not only has he scored more goals, he is also going to finish with a longer career, despite both playing in excess of 20 years. Corey, this goal brings Ovechkin's 20-year career average. And yes, he's missed time here and there, but in general, he has been durable, the Russian machine that does not break. He has 0.6 goals per game with a career total of 1,619 points, for a 1.09 point per game average in his career. Just let that sink in.
Dom, I don't have any sinks knocking at my door, sir.
Well, thank you for the dad joke. It wasn't me who brought it this time, ladies and gentlemen. But 0.6 goals per game for an entire 20-year career. 20 years, 0.6 goals per game. You talked about with Brock Nelson being at a similar 0.5, 0.6 goals per game and how good that is over the course of a season or over the course of a few years. For a 20-year career to be that consistent, that is absolutely absurd. But that is the type of longevity, talent, success that you need. It is incredible. It is otherworldly, and it is essential if you want to be able to catch and pass a record set by the great one, by Wayne Gretzky. That is what it takes. It takes being durable and playing every game and just doing what you do better than anyone else. And we talk about Ovechkin's office, that left face-off dot anywhere within the circle. Hit him with the puck, give him a one-timer. His release is faster than any goalie in the NHL, past or present. He will put it home. And that is, that is what it is. Corey, in 20 NHL seasons, Alex Ovechkin has 9 50-plus goal seasons, an additional 5 40-plus goal seasons. So he has 14 of his 20 years with at least 40 goals. Oh, by the way, his career high in the 2007-2008 season, 65 goals in one season for a total of 112 points that year. 65 goals. Unreal. And how about this as well? Despite breaking his leg earlier this season, causing him to miss 16 games, in 2024-25, he has scored 42 goals. Man is not slowing down. One of those 14 40-plus goal seasons I talked about is this year. And he's still playing at the top of his game. He could probably keep playing for another couple of years and stretch this record out if he wants to. 69 points in just 61 games, and to be that successful, he broke his leg. We're talking out a couple months, 16 games. 16 games for a broken leg actually sounds pretty small to me, Corey. What do you think?
Yeah, that does. Although, 16 games spaced out, even if that's a game every other day, that's still 32 days, which obviously is not always the case in hockey. So at least a month and a half, which honestly, I broke my leg. That's about how long it took me to come back from it.
Okay, well, fair enough. But still, you're not also on the ice.
Yeah, so I'm not also a top tier athlete. So
putting the pressure on that leg that he does. Oh, and by the way, scoring 42 goals. Unreal.
So it's
Another
crazy to think about. Crazy to think about where he would be. Crazy to think about where he'd be if he didn't have those missing 16 games. Probably would have broken the record much sooner.
Indeed, certainly, I would agree. If he he hadn't missed those 16 games, he certainly would have passed 50 this year. But it wouldn't be crazy to say this could have been his second season surpassing 60, because there's still a few games left for the Caps. I believe they have 4 or 5 left on the schedule.
My favorite fact to come out of all of this actually is that there were 29 goalies that he had never scored a goal against, and Ilya Sorokin was one of them. And boy, oh boy, I don't know how he feels. He acted happy, even though he even gave Ovi the stick. But man, that has to suck to know that you're going to be on the highlight reel for the rest of time. So, and it's just hilarious that of 29 goalies he never scored on, he gets the record breaker on one. And against a really great one at that, and his fellow countryman, Ilya Sorokin. I would like to say, though, Trent Miner of Colorado Avalanche, Colorado Eagles is one of those 28 remaining goalies. Never scored on him, so...
So, Corey, I actually have a couple questions for you, because I had actually noted both of those things on here. So, yes, this was his first career goal versus the countryman, Ilya Sorokin, and the only goal of the game for the Capitals. I imagine the delay and all the celebration... momentous occasion had an impact, and the Capitals really didn't care about winning that game. They've got their spot locked up. It was all about that moment. But do you know who are the top 3 goalies Ovi scored against? And if so, do you know how many goals he scored against each of them?
I would say top 3 goalies he scored against, like top 3 in terms of like save percentage and stuff.
Top 3, and he scored against them the most times. But yes, if I looked at that list, I would also rank them.
Oh, so just like top 3
goalies
that he scored against the most. Okay. I definitely say King Hank is one.
Yeah, he ranks. He's actually second on the list.
He's second on the list. Okay. I'd say Fleury is one.
He is first on the list.
Okay, so then who's number 3?
And there's technically a tie here for number 3, but one of them I think is much better than the other. So
oh man, it has to be somebody else in conference here. Ilya Brizgalov. I'm kidding.
No.
Can I get a team?
Montreal.
Oh, Carey Price.
There you go, Carey Price. Honorable mention to Kari Lehtinen. From a time before you or I watched, that was far earlier, or much earlier when I was little and don't remember it as much, in the 2000s. But yes, he has 28 goals scored on the Flower, 24 on King Hank, 22 on Carey Price. So those goalies, those are 3 top
legendary
goalies.
Hall of Famers right there.
And he has scored so many against them. And yes, it helps to be in conference with them, right? And in division, with the rivalry of Sid the Kid versus Ovi and all that rivalry that was for a large portion of their career. Who was going to score more points? Who was going to get more assists? Who was going to be the one to chase down and break the record? Huge amount of respect for them, though. But Fleury was the goalie in net in Pittsburgh for a lot of those. Of course, King Hank holding it down for New York, an underpowered New York team when you think about the offense. So he definitely was out there on an island doing his best, and has talked about Ovi even as just a broadcaster and how much he respects him. And it was like, you love playing against him because you want to play against the top tier talent, but oh boy, is he tough to play against. And then of course, Carey Price, someone who maybe gets a little under-recognized or forgotten sometimes, but is a really top tier goalie. And like I said, Kari Lehtinen has the same 22 goals against, so honorable mention as in a tie for third. But Corey, you mentioned Trent Miner, and this is my more fun number that I don't think you'll know which goalie this is. Do you know the goalie who faced the most shots versus Ovechkin, shots on goal that is, without conceding a goal?
Oh. Let me ponder it. I feel like, man, that, I mean, there's 28 of them to pick from here.
Take a shot.
Oh, I was totally cheating. I thought I sent you that list, but I guess I didn't. I don't know who it is.
Well, I found the list on Instagram because I think it was Budweiser or someone who actually sent.
Oh yeah, it was Cujo.
Sent honorary cans that had the number of saves to each goalie who had never conceded a goal. And I saw that on Instagram with the list. It is Vitek Vanacek facing 19 shots on goal. The former Shark has the highest number of saves without conceding a goal. against Alex Ovechkin. How funny is that?
You know, out of any goaltender that I would have guessed that for, E-Tech is not the person I would have picked.
So just interesting to show you that he has the potential to be really great or Georgiev level awful. And, well, that's why he's not with the Sharks anymore. But why he also was tradable. So there you go. But that is my final fun fact of the evening. So I would just like to wrap this up by saying congratulations to Alex Ovechkin, to the Washington Capitals organization, to his family, just to all of us who got to witness this. Respect to Gretzky, just humbly passing the torch like it was passed to him before and continuing the legacy that has been seen in hockey. And, let's see him keep adding to it. I hope Ovi continues to play and extend that record out even further because I think he's got a lot more hockey in him. But beyond that, congratulations to Alex Ovechkin. And yeah, Corey, is there anything you want to add? Because it's hard for me to even put into words just how historic of a moment this is and how lucky we are to get to see this. Because the last time this happened was before either of us were.
I'm going to let you finish, but I want to shout out my boy Sidney Crosby, who has the most point per game seasons of all time. 20 point per game seasons. Talk about consistency. Not the most goals, but a definitely top 5 player of all time, Sidney Crosby. That's all I want to say.
I agree. Yeah, 100% agree. Well, but that's really all I have left, man. I'm at a loss for words at this point with just how momentous this occasion is. So for those of you that know me, you might have seen what I posted on my Snapchat story when Ovi tied the record. He really was so close. Multiple chances against Spencer Knight to break the record at home, and Knight just said no. Ovi respected him for it, though you could tell he really wanted to get that in front of his home fans. Also in that game, he refused to step out on the ice when the net was empty because he did not want the goal to come that way. Man of honor, wanted to score the record-breaking goal the right way. It
against
came in the next game.
Ilya Sorokin.
Yep, against poor Ilya Sorokin, but it did not come against the defenseless empty net. So gotta respect him. Gotta respect him for that. And of course, that led to the young rookie on Capitals, as we talked about last week, being able to get the goal.
Well, everybody, I had something else. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, imagine being one of the people who paid $1,500 to go and see the Islanders game, and what if Ovechkin didn't score? That would have been tragic. If you've listened this far, we might actually cut some out of this episode a little bit, but if you've made it this far, the league for the NHL Bracket Challenge is open. It's live. I'm going to tell you all what it's called, and I'm going to tell you all what the password is, because of course we can't just let any Joe Schmo get in here. We got to get people who follow us on our social medias and who listen to this podcast. You are all the ones who should go in and compete against me and Dom. Let's see if you know hockey better than the two of us. But the league is of course called Captain Avalanche Fancast. It was going to be called the Captain Avalanche Fancast League, but they only allowed me 30 characters. So Captain Avalanche Fancast, you can search that up. Brackets will open in 8 days, so just in time for next week when we do our playoff preview. But the password, I think very fittingly, is going to be perseverate. That's right, perseverate. That is with a capital P, and that is PERSEVERATE. Once again, that's the Captain Avalanche Fancast under the Leagues tab. Search it up. And it has a symbol for the Avs logo. Password is perseverate, PERSEVERATE with a capital P. Go and join the league now. If you don't have an account, it's very easy to make. They're not going to do anything bad. Just do it so you can compete with us in our league. You can also join other leagues. A lot of teams have an official bracket challenge with actual prizes. So if you think that you are worthy of things like that, go and give it your best shot, but definitely join our league. It'll be fun. We will keep you updated with who is in the lead depending on the round. So go and join the league, everybody.
Yes, we hope to see you in the league. We'll be excited to talk picks and our bracket. I will certainly be inviting all of my friends and family, as well as should Corey. I think we should love to see how many people are in this. March Madness is over. The brackets are over for that. There's going to be there's always an opportunity to playoff bracket. Oh, by the way, Oreo Madness update, the championship tomorrow between Double Stuff and Lemon. So,
Ooh,
your mom knows what's up about those
Told you,
lemon
dude.
Oreos.
told you.
I mean, they could win. They could win. So we'll see. We'll see who the winner is tomorrow. I probably won't report that update next week because we will have so much more important stuff to cover. But you know what? Thank you for sitting through the long episode, Corey. We shouldn't cut it. This is so much valuable information and such a great episode, and I hope everyone thinks so as well because I've had a lot of fun bringing this to you tonight.
You're right, and I always do as well, even though some shit was done on the fly. But you know, that's just good journalism, baby. Well, everyone,
It was fun. It was different.
the clock is counting down to the final horn. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. Did you know there is, in fact, a comment section where you can leave your thoughts and questions? If you have something you want to know about the Avalanche, Sharks, or just hockey in general, leave it below and we'll be happy to try and answer it. There's also a unique poll, and that poll is always on Spotify for you to interact with every episode. The best thing you can do, if you like what we're doing here, is to follow us on whatever platform you're using and share this podcast everywhere you can, whether that's with your mouse or your mouth. Go join the league, everyone. I'm Captain Avalanche Corey.
This is Dom from The Take. Looking forward to seeing you in the league.
Check out our new episodes every week. Thanks, everyone.